Chapter 449. Spirit Region of the Nine States, 3rd Grade Long Family, Main Hall. Master, are we really going to deal with Longao? I have no reason not to. Long Yang sighed deeply. He could not understand what was wrong with the family head. He could have just sat back and reaped the benefits. Why did he have to make a move now? Master, forgive me for being blunt. Dragon Sect has the help of a great emperor martial artist. If we rashly make a move against Longao, the consequences will be unimaginable if we offend this great emperor martial artist. Great emperor martial artist. Hearing these words, Long Maoan sighed deeply. Until now, no one knew where the great emperor ancient martial art practitioner from the Dragon Sect had come from. Elder, I know what you mean. But have you ever thought about it? With Longao's talent and potential, no one can guarantee what Longao will become in a year's time. So, we have to cut the weeds and get rid of all future troubles. Thinking about Longao's counterattack, Long Maoan's heart twitched violently. Because of this, Long Maoan did not dare to imagine what Longao would become in a year's time. No one knew. Because of this uncertainty, Long Maoan had no choice but to agree with Ethereal Palace, Imperial City, and Serene Hades Mansion to continue working together to deal with Longao. Long Maoan did not continue as the matter had already been decided. 3 days later, Serene Hades Mansion, 3rd Grade Long Family, and Imperial City had joined forces. In order to completely destroy Sin City, the 3 forces had sent out a half-sage and 3 world emperors each. In other words, the 3 forces had sent out 3 half-sages and 9 world emperors to destroy Sin City. Everyone knew that Longao was the boss of Sin City. Compared to Sin City, Dragon Sect was nothing. That was why the 3 forces had chosen Sin City instead of Dragon Sect. Spirit Region of the 9 States. Sin City was very famous. Even the 4 forces were wary of Sin City. However, Sin City was no match for the 4 forces. Even so, the 3 saints and 9 world emperors did not directly attack Sin City. Instead, they stopped at the periphery. Dark Forest. Longao, who was constantly killing spirit beasts, suddenly received news of the 2 half-saints. Longao wasn't surprised at all because he had already guessed that the Ethereal Palace wouldn't let him off so easily. Even if there was a 1-year agreement, he believed that they would invite the other 3 forces to deal with him. Longao originally thought that even if the Ethereal Palace invited him, the Imperial City, the Rank 3 Long Family, and the Serene Hell Mansion might not agree. If it were him, he would definitely not agree and would reap the benefits. Smiling helplessly, Longao knew clearly that he had underestimated the Misty Palace. Since the 3 forces had come, Longao didn't stay in the Dark Forest any longer. He led Long Qiong and Long Ming out of the Dark Forest and headed towards Sin City. City of Sin, City Lord Manor. What's the situation? Luo Tian and Zhu Chen looked quite serious. Zhu Chen nodded and said, Master, the Rank 3 Long Family, the Serene Hell Mansion, and the Imperial City sent a total of 3 half-saints and 9 world emperors. If they swarm in, it'll be difficult for us to resist. Waving his hand, Longao wasn't worried at all. He said with a smile, we'll deal with whatever comes our way. It's just 3 half-saints and 9 world emperors. I want to ask you, if it's 2 against 3, how confident are you? Master, you think too highly of us. If it's 1 against 1, we may be confident. But if it's 2 against 3, we're not completely confident. Longao nodded. He had already guessed this point. The biggest problem now was that the other side had 3 half-saints while they only had 2. As for the remaining 9 world emperors, they were nothing to worry about. Without others, Long Qiong and Long Ming could easily deal with the 9 world emperors. What should they do with the remaining half-saint? Longao lowered his head and pondered. Luo Tian and Zhu Chen didn't dare to disturb him. For a moment, the whole hall was silent. No one spoke, only heavy breathing could be heard. After an unknown period of time, Longao suddenly said, You 2 go out and scout the situation. I'll think of a way. Yes, Master. Longao's complexion had also become slightly dignified after the 2 of them had left. No matter what was said, the 3 forces now had 1 more semisage expert. With his strength, it was still unknown whether he could kill a semisage expert. Longao knew very well that although there was only a difference of one level between a half-saint and a world emperor, the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. Long Fu summoned me? Longao was very puzzled. He didn't know why Long Fu summoned him at this time. Long Fu, you're looking for me? Within the dragon seal space, Longao seemed to be very anxious as he asked straightforwardly. Nodding his head, Long Fu said, Master, with your current strength, you are invincible in the void realm. However, as long as you meet an illusionary divine expert, even a half-saint, you won't be their opponent. You have a way. Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he knew that since Long Fu said so, there must be a way for him to kill a half-saint. Just as expected. Master, you can already use the 8 styles of blood drinker that I taught you. Now, as long as you combine the 8 styles and form the blood drinker blade, this blade will definitely shock the heavens and earth. Combine the 8 styles of blood drinker? Longao was very shocked. He never thought that the 8 styles of blood drinker could be combined into one. The 8 styles of blood drinker were the first style, Underworld 9 consecutive strikes, the second style, Heart-devouring ice, the third style, Sea of flames, the fourth style, World-destroying blade radiance, the fifth style, Soul-devouring bones, the sixth style, Meteorite explosion, the seventh style, Heaven and earth splitting, and the eighth style, Blade piercing the heavens. 8 styles combined, devouring the heavens. 8 styles combined, devouring the heavens. Longao prayed that the 8 styles of blood drinker could be combined into one. Immediately after, Longao began to practice the 8 styles of blood drinker. It sounded very simple, but it was actually very difficult. Longao continuously used the 8 styles of blood drinker. The first style, Yellow Spring's 9 consecutive strikes, the second style, Heart-devouring ice, the third style, Sea of flames, the fourth style, World-destroying blade ray, the fifth style, Soul-devouring 10,000 bones, the sixth style, Meteorite explosion, the seventh style, Tearing the heavens and splitting the earth, and the eighth style, Blade piercing the heavens. One style after another, he tried to combine the 8 styles. Just like this, Longao was in the training field, continuously combining the 8 styles of blood drinker. Unknowingly, dusk had arrived. The 3 half-saints of the 3 major powers, the Imperial City, the rank 3 Long family, the 3 half-saints of the Nether Mansion, and the 9 world emperors seemed to have lost their patience and directly charged into Sin City. However, what surprised the 12 of them was that the usually bustling Sin City suddenly became extremely quiet, as if they had entered hell. Chapter 450. Silence. The silence was frightening. The more silent Sin City was, the more serious the 12 people became. They weren't fools. Of course, they knew that Sin City must have known about this, so they were prepared. However, they weren't too surprised. After all, their target this time was Longao, not an ordinary person. Because of this, they were prepared to go to the City Lord Mansion. Everyone, we are honored by your presence in Sin City. Please excuse us for not going out to meet you. Looking at the 3 people who suddenly appeared in front of them, the 12 people were a little amused. Among them, the half-step Saint Ji Lin sneered and said, "Everyone says that Longao is arrogant, but I didn't believe it. Today, it's true. Longao, I can't help but admire you. You're arrogant to the extreme. Thank you for the compliment." The 3 semisage experts found Longao's arrogance somewhat amusing. They couldn't figure out what had given Longao such great confidence. Does he really think that the strength of these 3 semisage experts is enough to resist the strength of all of us? I almost forgot. Longao seems to have killed a half-step saint in an instant. It seems like you're really powerful. I admire you, I admire you. The words of admiration were quite disrespectful and mocking, but Longao didn't care at all. In fact, Longao knew very well that no one was willing to believe that he had killed a half-step saint from the ethereal palace. No matter what, he was just a world king back then. A world king killing a half-step saint. 9 out of 10 people didn't believe it. Longao, seeing that you're a genius, will give you a chance. As long as you break your arms and legs and admit your mistake to the world, We'll be magnanimous and spare your life. How about it? Ha ha ha. Hearing this, Longao suddenly stretched out his right hand and shook it. His meaning was very simple. That was, you guys can't do it. Despised by the other party? This was intolerable. Even if the secret cave could be tolerated, their chrysanthemums could not be tolerated. The 12 of them were furious. They did not waste any more words and directly shot towards Longao. Not daring to be the slightest bit careless, Longao had already discussed with the 2 half-step saints. The 2 half-step saints would fight against the 2 half-step saints, while the remaining half-step saint and the 9 world emperors would all be left to him. In the beginning, Luo Tian and Zhu Chen didn't agree at all. Although they were very confident in their master, and even more firmly believed that with their master's strength, it was more than enough to deal with a half-saint, they were still afraid of what might happen. However, Longao had already made his decision. So, the 2 half-step sages could only nod in agreement. In the blink of an eye, the 2 sides were already engaged in a great battle. In the battle between Longao and Jilin also had the help of the 9 great world emperors. In order to be able to hit the target with one hit, Longao just fought with his hands and feet tied. It looked as if he could not resist at any time. Seeing this situation, everyone was overjoyed in their hearts. Ha ha ha, seeing you in person is really not as good as hearing about you. Longao, I thought you had 3 heads and 6 arms. It turns out that you are also a waste. A waste will always be a waste. Today, I will let everyone in the world know how I kill a waste. He simply ignored the other party. The Divine Dragon arm and the Dark Tiger arm were constantly smashing out. As a world emperor, although Longao did not dare to fight head-on with Jilin, he ignored the 9 great world emperors. Moreover, he had the Saint Desolation body. Longao relied on his Saint Desolation body to let the 9 great world emperors smash him. Because of this, Longao saw the opportunity and suddenly smashed out with his fists at the fastest speed. Crack, crack. Accompanied by screams, the chests of the 2 world emperors were completely smashed in. Their ribs pierced into their hearts, and they directly died without any chance. The 2 world emperors were directly smashed by the punch. Their bodies fell from the sky and came into close contact with the ground, and made a loud noise. Smashing 2 world emperors to death with one punch. In mid-air, Longao had just smashed 2 world emperors to death. Without the slightest hesitation, he immediately continued to fight. With the previous example, the remaining 7 world emperors did not dare to continue to fight with Longao. They chose to fight head-on. Jilin was also shocked. However, no matter how strong Longao was, a world king would always be a world king. It was impossible for him to become a semi-sage. Because of this, Jilin did not have the slightest fear. Instead, he became more aggressive. Punch after punch, he continuously smashed Longao, not giving Longao any chance to breathe. If a tiger doesn't show its power, you take me as a sick cat. Longao did not continue to dodge. With a roar, he circulated the strength of his whole body and suddenly smashed out a punch. Jilin never thought that Longao would choose to fight head-on with him. In a panic, their fists collided fiercely, and their bodies were smashed away. What happened? What in the world happened? Everyone looked at Longao sending Jilin flying with one punch. They seemed to be in disbelief. In their hearts, it was normal for Longao to send Jilin flying. However, if Jilin was sent flying by Longao, then it was definitely wrong. The powerful world emperors were dumbfounded. They finally understood why Longao was so arrogant. It turned out that he had the qualifications to be arrogant. Looking coldly at the youth opposite him, Jilin suddenly said, "Longao, I have to admit that your strength is really strong. You are the number 1 person under the illusionary divine stage. Thank you for the compliment." He wasn't modest at all. Jilin had already put away his contempt. Although they had only exchanged less than 10 moves, his opponent's strength had already exceeded his understanding. Jilin didn't know why, but he had a feeling that if he agreed, even if he was a half-saint, he would still suffer some mishap. Jilin felt that this feeling was ridiculous. However, this feeling did exist and was getting stronger. If this matter were to spread, he would definitely be laughed at. A semi-sage was afraid of a world emperor? Imperial City, Grade 3 Long Family, Serene Dark Mansion. Originally, I wanted to settle the score with you guys after dealing with the Ethereal Palace. However, it seems that you guys are courting death. Don't blame me for being ruthless. From now on, I will slowly slaughter the Imperial City, Grade 3 Long Family, and Serene Dark Mansion until no one is left. Looking at the other party's cold eyes and feeling the murderous aura from the other party, for some reason, everyone shivered. What a terrifying gaze. Longao, who do you think you are? You want to destroy my Imperial City, Grade 3 Long Family, and Serene Dark Mansion? Ha ha ha, you are really shameless. Although he admitted that Longao was strong, Jilin did not believe that Longao alone could destroy the four major forces. Unless the sun rose from the west. Ignoring it, the blood-sucking frenzy blade appeared in his hand. Longao's aura instantly soared. In the blink of an eye, it soared to a certain height. Seeing the blood-sucking frenzy blade, whether it was the Seven World Emperors or Jilin, their expressions changed. Chapter 451. Jilin and the other Seven World Emperors knew what the blood-sucking frenzy blade represented. According to the rumors, Longao had used the blood-sucking frenzy blade to kill a half-step saint in one strike. Although Jilin didn't want to believe it, he knew very well that there couldn't be any mistakes in this matter. The slightest carelessness would cause him to fall into eternal damnation. Jilin, if you can withstand my blade, regardless of the outcome, you can leave Sin City. One had to admit that Longao was really arrogant, simply arrogant to the extreme. Because of this, Jilin suddenly laughed crazily. His laughter was filled with disdain and ridicule, as if he had heard the funniest thing in the world. Jilin wasn't a fool. Of course, he could understand the meaning behind the other party's words. In other words, regardless of whether he could leave this place alive, he wasn't the other party's opponent. Was that possible? A world emperor wanted to defeat a half-step saint. Regardless of whether others believed it or not, Jilin definitely wouldn't believe it. Longao ignored Jilin's ridicule. The blood-sucking frenzy blade in his hand trembled slightly. Before he arrived and the blade was unsheathed, a bloody aura had already suppressed the sky. Jilin, who was laughing crazily, felt the bloody aura and his expression changed drastically. What a terrifying bloody aura. Jilin was secretly shocked. He was almost certain that the blade in the other party's hand was a divine tool. Because of this, Jilin's face was filled with greed. Longao, not only will you die today, even your treasures will belong to me. However, don't blame me when you go to the Yellow Springs because you brought this upon yourself. You can't blame anyone else. With just you. Longao, I'm really curious. What gave you such confidence? Do you really think you can defeat me? Instant kill of a half-step saint. Until now, Jilin still wasn't willing to believe it. He thought that it was all fabricated by Longao out of thin air and that it was a completely false matter. Regarding what Jilin was thinking in his heart, how could Longao not know? Longao snorted coldly in his heart. He looked down on these so-called experts from the bottom of his heart. Regardless of how strong or weak one was, just the fact that he was looking down on others was enough to leave them speechless. Longao was very clear in his heart that the reason he was able to kill so many high-level warriors in succession was 99% due to these so-called masters' underestimation and carelessness. However, he would not give anyone a chance. Giving the enemy a chance was equivalent to digging a hole for oneself and burying oneself. It was impossible for Longao to do such a stupid thing. Longao, I can give you a chance. As long as you hand over this saber and the saber art you practice, I can consider sparing your life. What do you think? Shameless. Longao cursed in his mind and coldly snorted, truly a piece of trash among idiots, an idiot among trash. Just you alone? What right do you have to ask for the saber art and the blood-sucking saber from me? Why don't you look in the mirror and see if you are worthy? Longao didn't care about him at all. Longao knew that when fighting with someone like Jilin, he couldn't show a trace of weakness. The stronger you were, the less confident he would be. The weaker you were, the stronger he would be. It was precisely because of this that Longao had an overbearing attitude from beginning to end. Back then, I was able to kill a half-step sage. Now, I can kill another half-step sage. I hope you won't disappoint me too much. Hearing this, although Jilin's expression didn't change, his heart skipped a beat. Although he still didn't believe it, the truth was in his eyes. Back then, when Longao caused havoc in the ethereal palace, he had indeed killed a half-step sage. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't afraid. It was better to be safe than sorry. What if Longao could really kill him with one saber strike? Looking at the motionless and silent Jilin, Longao was simply satisfied to the extreme. Damn you, I haven't even made a move and I've already scared you to death, you bastard. Longao knew that in a fight between experts, the state of mind was actually the most important. Sometimes, if the opponent's strength was much higher than his state of mind would change, and the consequences would be unimaginable. The half-saint from Misty Palace was the best example. With the lesson learned from the past, Longao wanted to scare the other party before making a move. As a result, Jilin was indeed scared. Jilin, why aren't you saying anything? Aren't you a little scared? Didn't you not believe me? You. Waving his hand, Longao didn't give Jilin any chance to speak. He continued, if people don't offend me, I won't offend them. If people offend me, I'll definitely offend them. The three major forces have repeatedly caused trouble for me. If I continue to endure, wouldn't I be letting myself down? What do you want? For some reason, looking at the youth in front of him, Jilin suddenly felt a little apprehensive. Could it be that the other party wanted to play some tricks? But Jilin didn't want Longao to play any tricks. In any case, the three major forces and the ethereal palace were the four major forces. Could Longao and the dragon sect alone contend against the four major forces? It was still the same sentence. No matter if others believed it or not, he absolutely didn't believe it. Others may not know the strength and foundation of the four major forces, but how could Jilin not know? Not to mention one dragon sect and one Longao, even if there were 20 Longao and 20 dragon sects, it was impossible to be the opponent of the four major forces. These were the four major forces that dominated the spirit domain of the 9 regions. Regarding what Jilin was thinking in his heart, Longao knew clearly. This was the so-called half-step sage expert. Not only was Jilin sad, but it was also the sorrow of the four major forces. Jilin, from now on, I will deal with the three major forces with all my strength. Don't think that the four major forces are invincible just because they can dominate the spirit realm of the 9 states. But I can tell you clearly that from now on, the era of the four major forces is over. Before Jilin could speak, Longao said again, I will slaughter the four major forces, not leaving a single one alive. I want to see if the four major forces are as powerful as the legends say. Jilin's heart thumped. He didn't know why, but for a moment, Jilin actually believed the other party's words. How terrifying. Could it be that the other party could really do it? Jilin still couldn't believe it. Longao was just a little lucky. He had a little fortuitous encounter and cultivated a super strong martial skill. Could it be that he was invincible? Sneering, Jilin suddenly said, reckless fool, I can tell you clearly that no matter what happens today, you will die. Not only you, but also the city of Sin, the dragon sect, and the Long family. I want to see how you will help them, ha 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 ha. Chapter 452. Courting Death. In Jilin's view, Longao was courting death. It would be a huge joke if he wanted to fight against the four major forces by himself. Jilin seemed to want to say something but was stopped by Longao. Without waiting for Jilin to continue talking nonsense, Longao took a big stride forward and his whole body had already rushed out. Before he arrived, the powerful aura of heaven and earth had already fiercely suppressed. Jilin of course knew that Longao had the aura of heaven and earth, so he was not surprised and calmly faced the enemy. But at this time, Longao directly used the 8 styles of blood drinking, one style after another, continuously. What a terrifying saber art martial technique. Not daring to be the slightest bit careless, Ji Lin looked very casual on the surface, but in fact, he was afraid in his heart and kept retreating. Ji Lin retreated, Longao attacked. Longao knew very well that with his current strength, it was very difficult to resist a half-step saint martial artist. Only by continuously attacking could he achieve a sure kill. Without waiting for Ji Lin to react and attack, Longao directly used the combination of the 8 styles of blood drinking, which was the so-called devouring the heavens. Longao was still not very familiar with the so-called devouring the heavens, but in order to be able to kill Ji Lin, he reluctantly used it. The terrifying saber light slashed out, and the surrounding space began to tremble, with traces of cracks appearing. He had long heard that Longao's saber art could break space, but Ji Lin did not believe it at all. But the truth was in front of his eyes. Besides swallowing his saliva, it seemed that he could only accept the reality. Rolling and crawling, Ji Lin finally escaped. But even so, Ji Lin was almost swallowed by the saber light. It was too terrifying. Longao had never thought of the power of devouring the heavens. It was almost a combination of all the 8 styles of blood drinking. However, this saber did not succeed in killing Ji Lin. Longao knew that even if he used devouring the heavens again, it would be difficult to succeed since Ji Lin was already prepared. But Longao still did not give Ji Lin any chance to catch his breath. The wild blood-sucking blade in his hand continued to slash out. This time, he used tearing heaven and earth and overturning the firmament consecutively. Ji Lin, who had already lost his head out of fear, was now even more helpless. A half-saint would always be a half-saint. The reason why Longao was able to kill a half-step sage in a second was largely due to the half-step sage's carelessness and Longao's luck. But now, after a brief moment of shock, Ji Lin regained his footing and began fighting back, his powerful Saint Qi suppressing Longao's spiritual yuan. The difference between the illusionary divine stage and the illusionary divine stage was huge. Even a peak world emperor and a beginner half-sage were not on the same level. Suppressed by Yang Kai's Saint Qi, Longao found it extremely difficult to continue using bloodthirsty arrogance. At this moment, Longao truly experienced the gap between realms. No matter how powerful he was, the gap between their realms was something that couldn't be made up for by other things. If his cultivation could break through the half-saint realm, then even if he couldn't kill Ji Lin in a second, at least killing Ji Lin wouldn't be a problem. But the truth was that he hadn't broken through to the half-saint realm. The tables had turned. Longao was being pressured by Ji Lin, and the bloodthirsty arrogant blade in his hand continuously slashed out. But Ji Lin, who was already prepared, dodged continuously, and couldn't hit him at all. Longao knew very well that if this situation continued, there would only be one outcome, and that was that he would be killed mercilessly by Ji Lin. Ji Lin's eyes were cold, and his body exuded a cold aura. But Ji Lin still didn't take Longao seriously. In his opinion, Longao was just SOSO. A world emperor would always be a world emperor, and it was impossible for Ji Lin to be his opponent. Because of this, Ji Lin didn't have the slightest fear. For some unknown reason, Longao completely gave up on attacking and chose to defend. Ji Lin forced him to retreat step by step. The more Longao behaved like this, the more surprised Ji Lin was. He even went overboard. He originally looked down on Longao, but now he was full of confidence. He even slowed down his moves, as if he wanted to play with Longao. Longao had severely injured the 4 major forces several times, and it was rumored that he could kill a half-saint expert in seconds. If Ji Lin could kill Longao, his fame alone would definitely shake the world. Just as Ji Lin thought that he was infallible and was thinking about how to kill Longao, an astonishing aura suddenly erupted from Longao's body. Then, a huge dragon shadow appeared behind Longao, and a terrifying aura directly enveloped everyone. The 2 half-saints who were fighting with Zhu Chen were also shrouded by this powerful aura, and they trembled in fear. What is this? Before Ji Lin and the others could figure out what was going on, everyone found that their bodies were instantly frozen under this aura. Moreover, the flow of time around them changed, and even started to flow in reverse. What kind of concept was this? Taking advantage of this opportunity, Zhu Chen quickly attacked. They already had the upper hand, and each of them punched the two half-saints to death. Under normal circumstances, even if Longao used his innate ability, Dragon Roar, he might not be able to kill a half-saint. After all, it seemed difficult to freeze and change the flow of time with the strength of a half-saint. However, the three half-saints were too shocked. How could Longao's group easily give up such an opportunity? After successfully killing two half-saints, Longao was overjoyed. He said, "You two deal with 7 of them." Before he finished speaking, Longao's bloodthirsty broadsword had already slashed out. Jilin was completely frightened. Perhaps because he was frightened, his strength suddenly erupted, and he directly broke free from the lock. Jilin turned around and left. He didn't want to continue killing Longao. It was fine as long as he could leave this place alive. Jilin was frightened by Longao's innate ability because he had already broken free from the lock. As long as he stabilized his state of mind and continued to fight, he could completely turn the situation around. However, Jilin was already frightened. It was impossible for him to continue fighting. It was precisely because of this that it brought a fatal disaster to Jilin. Longao had already predicted that Jilin would escape. With a sneer, he used the method of creating a diversion to the east and attacking the west. While taking advantage of the situation, he sent out a slash from both sides. Longao clearly wanted to kill Jilin, so he used all of his strength. A blood-curdling scream rang out. However, one had to admit that Jilin's ability to react and adapt was quite strong. After dodging, only one of his arms was cut off. However, Jilin still didn't dare to stay. He used all his strength to escape and disappeared without a trace in the blink of an eye. Jilin's defeat this time was not only due to carelessness and underestimation, but also due to his lack of calmness. But in any case, everything was too late. Fortunately, he dodged in time. Otherwise, not to mention losing an arm, even his life would be left behind. Chapter 453. He couldn't accept it. He couldn't accept it. Jilin didn't expect this result. He thought he could kill Longao, but what was the result now? Not only did he fail to kill Longao, but he also lost an arm. It was an incomparable pain in the balls and depression. Not to mention the pain of losing an arm, he had completely lost his face. After all, he was a dignified half-saint. Moreover, the 3 great powers had dispatched a total of 3 half-saints this time. But even then, 2 of them had been killed by Chen Shi while he'd lost an arm. Was this for real? Until now, Jilin couldn't believe it was true. Jilin, you can't run away today. Jilin, who was about to stop and rest, was shocked when he heard the roar from behind. Without guessing, Jilin already knew who it was. However, this was expected. After all, things had already reached this point. If Longao chose to give up so easily, he would feel even more strange. Not daring to stop, Jilin used all his strength and wished he could grow 2 more legs. However, with one arm cut off, he was extremely scared. Jilin's speed and strength were greatly reduced. He didn't have the heart to continue fighting. Once this happened, Jilin was completely defeated. A half-step saint was being chased by a universe emperor. If this news spread, no one would believe it. However, there were exceptions to everything, not to mention that this exception happened to Longao. One in front and one behind. Longao held the bloodthirsty blade and chased all the way. Since things had already developed to this point, it would be more troublesome if he didn't kill Jilin. Moreover, the 4 major forces had repeatedly found trouble with him. If he continued to endure, the 4 major forces would really think he was afraid of them. Even if Dragon Sect's strength was not as good as the 4 major forces, Longao knew very well in his heart that he absolutely could not show the slightest bit of fear. Otherwise, the 4 major forces would take advantage of him even more. Because of this, Longao was prepared to kill Jilin directly this time and let the 3 major forces suffer. Looking at Jilin, who was still extremely fast, Longao became more and more anxious. If Jilin escaped from Sin City and entered the 4 major forces, it would be troublesome. There was no other way. Longao once again used his innate ability, Dragon roar. A terrifying dragon roar resounded. Longao directly used the so-called blood-drinking saber devouring the heavens in order to end the battle quickly and hit the target with one strike. The saber light followed the momentum and fiercely chopped down. Jilin's body froze once more. Time flowed in reverse and Jilin already knew what had happened. Jilin almost called out in alarm, but this time he was obviously much calmer than before. Pushing his Saint Chi to the limit, he directly eliminated this terrifying locking force. Even so, this saber strike almost took his life. At this moment, Jilin finally understood why Longao could instantly kill a half-step saint. No matter who it was, including him, they wouldn't have the slightest confidence to continue fighting once they encountered such a situation. Jilin, weren't you very cocky just now? Why don't you stop and let me have a look? Jilin didn't have time to answer. He ran as fast as he could, hoping to leave this place as soon as possible. In this kind of life and death situation, what face? What face? It was all dog shit. Jilin, you're so embarrassing. You're being chased by me. If I were you, I'd just buy 2 pounds of tofu and go home to smash myself to death. Asterisk thump. Asterisk Longao's insults were so powerful that Jilin almost tripped. If the road didn't work, he could just fly in the air. Whether it was a world emperor or a half-step saint, they could fly for a long time. If he couldn't catch up to Jilin on the road, it would be even more impossible in the air. What should I do? You're courting death. At this time, a dragon roar resounded through the world. Immediately afterward, Long Chong's huge body appeared in the air. Longao landed on Long Chong's body and his speed instantly tripled. Hearing the dragon roar, Jilin thought that the other party had used imprisonment again. He circulated all his strength to resist, but after waiting for a long time, it seemed that he wasn't locked this time and the flow of time didn't change. What's going on? Just when Jilin was puzzled and was about to turn his head to see what was going on, another dragon roar resounded. A dragon's roar rang out once more. Before Jilin could figure out what was happening, he suddenly felt a frightening dragon's breath envelop him. Dragon breath. Jilin was very puzzled. Where did the dragon breath come from? Just as he turned his head, Jilin saw a huge black dragon appear beside him. His whole body suddenly trembled. Before Jilin could react, he was swallowed by a blade light. This time, Longao didn't take away Jilin's soul because Blood Drinker swallowing the sky was too shocking. It was simply too late. But no matter what, being able to smoothly kill Jilin could be considered a blessing in disguise. After sending Long Chong back to the Dragon Seal space, Longao didn't immediately return to Sin City because the remaining 7 world emperors could be easily dealt with by Ju Chen and Ju Chen. Longao thought about the 4 major forces because this time, the 3 major forces had sent 3 half-step saints and 9 world emperors to deal with him and Sin City. It was obviously related to Misty Palace. Although Longao had already thought about it, he didn't expect Misty Palace to be so shameless. They were simply shameless to the extreme. In any case, he and Misty Palace had already made a 1-year bet. As one of the 4 major forces, Misty Palace couldn't even abide by the minimum bet. Just this point alone showed how far Misty Palace could go. Clenching his fists, Longao kept telling himself in his heart that no matter what happened, he had to destroy the 4 major forces. Otherwise, his troubles would continue to come endlessly. As the saying goes, it is better to be safe than sorry. What if the 4 major forces hurt his family and sect? What should he do at that time? Therefore, the best way was to cut the weeds and eliminate the roots. Even if he had to pay a price, he had to deal with the 4 major forces and eliminate all future troubles. Not only for himself, but also for his family and sect. Longao was very clear that if he wanted to eliminate the 4 major forces, he had to increase his strength first. Then, it would be Sin City, sect, and family. If he increased his strength at the same time, then he wouldn't be far from eliminating the 4 major forces. Strength, in the end, it was still strength. If he didn't have strength, everything would be nonsense. 1 year, he only had 1 year. If he could reach the realm of Great Emperor, then Longao had full confidence that he could slaughter the 4 major forces. But could he do it in just 1 year? It was difficult, very difficult. Longao knew that he had to take some extreme measures. Otherwise, it would be a fool's dream to reach the realm of Great Emperor in 1 year. Chapter 454. Spiritual Region of the 9 States. Level 3 Long Family, Main Hall. When Long Morwen heard that a half-sage martial artist had been killed, his face darkened. The 4 great forces could not afford to lose a half-sage martial artist. At this moment, Long Morwen was cursing all the ancestors of the Misty Palace. If it weren't for the Misty Palace, how could his clan have lost a half-saint? He could not vent the hatred in his heart. Ever since the rise of Longao, the 4 great forces had suffered heavy losses. This time, they had lost a half-sage martial artist and Long Morwen could not accept it. Long Morwen's position in the Long family was not comparable to Snake Emperor's position in Ethereal Palace. Otherwise, based on Snake Emperor's situation, Long Morwen would have died many times over. Family head, what should we do now? Long Yang's face darkened but he did not say much. After all, the feud between the Long family and Longao had reached a point where one of them had to die. It was as though one of them had to die. In other words, Longao had to die. However, the Long family had suffered heavy losses and could not take it anymore. Things have already come to this point. No matter what, we can't let Longao continue to develop. This child is too terrifying. Long Yang nodded in agreement with the patriarch's words. If he did not see it with his own eyes, it would be hard for him to imagine that there was such a monstrous existence in this world. In just a few months, or even less than a year, Longao had already grown to such an extent. It was too terrifying. Family head, what do you mean? Kill. However, a half-sage martial artist is no match for Longao. Thinking of this, both Long Yang and Long Morwen were frustrated. The two of them did not know how Longao had done it. After all, was it possible for an illusionary divine martial artist to kill an illusionary divine martial artist? Although this was the truth, the two of them found it hard to believe. Half-saints won't do. We can only invite the Grand Ancestor. Family head, please think twice before you act. Back then, 2 saints from the Ethereal Palace wanted to kill Longao but were stopped by a great emperor. If we send saints to deal with Longao and this great emperor is unhappy, we will be in big trouble. I know that, but a half-step saint can't kill Longao. If I don't ask the ancestor to come out, who can deal with Longao? For some reason, Long Yang felt that something was amiss, but he couldn't put his finger on it. Don't worry. This time, I won't act alone. Not only us, but also the Imperial City, the Serene Hell Mansion, and even the Ethereal Palace must participate in this matter. You want us to take responsibility alone? Dream on. Family head, the Ethereal Palace and Longao have a 1-year agreement. Will the Ethereal Palace take action? Yes, they definitely will. If the Ethereal Palace doesn't take action this time, the 3 of us will join forces to suppress them. We can use this opportunity to teach the Ethereal Palace a good lesson. One had to admit that the rank 3 Long family and Long Merciless were ambitious. While dealing with Longao, they didn't forget to think about the so-called Ethereal Palace. Sin City. This time, he successfully killed 3 half-step saints and 9 world emperors. This was a huge boost to the morale of the people. Ju Chen and Long Lin were full of admiration for Longao because they knew the master's strength very well. Even so, the master still killed Ji Lin. The two of them knew that if they wanted to kill 2 half-step saints from the 3 major forces under normal circumstances, they would have to pay a certain price. But because of the master's help, the price was almost 0. While the 2 half-step saints were shocked and their bodies were locked down, the 2 half-step saints were killed. The two of them couldn't imagine the master's strength. Master, are you really leaving? Yes. This time, the 3 major forces didn't succeed in destroying Sin City. If nothing goes wrong, the 3 major forces' next target will be the Dragon Sect and the family. So, I have to rush back. I can't let the 3 major forces succeed. So that's why. After I leave, I'll leave Sin City to you. Remember 2 things. The barren mountain that I told you about is listed as a forbidden area in Sin City. No matter who steps in, kill them immediately. As for the second thing, I'll leave Sin City to you for the time being. Remember, if you can fight, fight. If you can't, stay alive. Nodding their heads, the two of them knew what the master meant. The three major forces had a strong foundation and strength. It was almost impossible to rely on Sin City to fight against the three major forces. Because of this, the two half-step saints didn't dare to be careless. No matter what, the master had left Sin City to them. No matter what happened, they had to protect Sin City. Longao wasn't worried about the two of them. So, he didn't say much. He didn't dare to stay any longer because Longao wasn't sure if the three great forces would deal with his family and sect. Therefore, it was better to return to the sect sooner rather than later. It could be considered a relief. This time, the three major powers had lost 3 half-step saints and 9 world emperors. It could be considered as a great blow to their vitality. However, the three major powers were very clear that the matter had already reached this stage. No matter what happened, they had to deal with Longao. The three major forces were wary of Longao's talent. It was obvious to all. If they allowed Longao to continue developing, the consequences would be unimaginable. The three major forces' intention was simple. They had lost 3 half-step saints this time. If they continued to lose, they weren't willing to let the ethereal palace take advantage of them. As a result, the three major forces joined forces to look for the ethereal palace, hoping that they could deal with Longao together. But would the ethereal palace agree? Not to mention the 1-year agreement, the ethereal palace wouldn't easily take action because they were wary of Longao. After all, Longao's talent and potential were there. They would avoid him if possible. How could the ethereal palace agree to this? If the ethereal palace didn't agree, would it work? The three major forces definitely wouldn't agree. Both sides had ulterior motives and wanted to drag each other down. So, the three major forces who had decided to take action together had to put it aside temporarily because the ethereal palace didn't join them. Longao returned to the sect smoothly. He was relieved to find that the 4 major forces didn't attack. Longao was well aware that he had killed 3 semisage experts this time. He believed that the 3 big forces were thoroughly dumbfounded. They wouldn't send semisage experts next time if they were to continue to attack. Instead, they would send true sage experts. Thinking of saints, Longao felt a headache. Because in the entire dragon sect, no one could withstand the attack of a saint except for Fire Cheline. But Fire Cheline was guarding the family and couldn't come to the dragon sect. So, if the 4 major forces sent saints, how should he deal with it? How should the sect deal with it? Chapter 455. Long Family. Back Mountain Forbidden Grounds. Other than Longao, who could enter freely, no one else, not even Longhaosha and the rest, could enter. Back Mountain Forbidden Grounds, Fire Cheline's territory. Brother Cheline, how are your injuries? Don't mention it. As I didn't recover in time, my injuries are not good. Fortunately, I have suppressed them. Although my strength is affected, it shouldn't be a big problem. It was not a big problem. Hearing this, Longao heaved a long sigh of relief. Brother Cheline, I can't help you find a great Emperor's spirit in a short period of time. However, I can promise you that I will send it to you as soon as I get it. Longao was not stupid. He knew that the stronger Fire Cheline was, the more beneficial it would be for him and his family. With a great Emperor-level Fire Cheline in the Long family, who would dare to bully them? Because of this, Longao decided that no matter what happened, he would find a great Emperor's spirit for Fire Cheline. Let's take it slow. Fire Cheline knew that with Longao's strength, it was almost impossible for him to find a great Emperor's spirit. However, Fire Cheline knew how crazy Longao was. If it was someone else, Fire Cheline would definitely not believe it. However, Longao had obtained 2 great Emperor spirits. What kind of concept was that? Longao, let me give you a piece of advice. Unless you break through to the so-called Supreme Tao realm, it's best not to go to the grave of the gods. Nodding his head, Longao knew what Fire Qilin was worried about. If Senior Wu Ming had not saved them, they would not have left the grave of the gods. Legend had it that Supreme Dao martial artists were the top existences. Moreover, Supreme Dao martial artists were considered to be at the peak of martial arts. With his current strength, not to mention Supreme Dao martial artists, even illusionary divine martial artists were unreachable. Therefore, Longao knew his limits and would not act rashly. Brother Qilin, don't worry. I won't act rashly. However, one day, I will return to the grave of the gods. Looking at the determined face of the young man in front of him, the Fire Qilin was very impressed, because this kind of character was a good thing for cultivation. After chatting with the Fire Qilin for a while, Longao went to find his grandfather, Longhaosha. This grandson of his was simply Longhaosha's pride. Although Longhaosha did not say much on the surface, everyone could see that Longhaosha was constantly showing his pride. "Ao, what's the matter?" Longao nodded. Originally, he didn't want to tell his grandfather about this matter, but this was no small matter, and he had no right to hide it from the family. "Grandfather, to tell you the truth, when I went to Sin City, the third-rank Long family, Nether Mansion, and Imperial City sent 3 half-saints and 9 world emperors to attack Sin City." Although Longhaosha didn't know the meaning of half-sage and world emperor, Sun Tzu had spoken so solemnly that Longhaosha had already guessed that the martial artists sent by the 3 major forces this time must be the strongest among the strongest. Because of this, Longhaosha was very worried. He couldn't wait to ask, "Ao, how is it?" Just as he asked, Longhaosha cursed himself in his heart. If something had happened, how could his grandson be standing in front of him? It seemed like Ao had dealt a heavy blow to the 4 major forces. Longao did not hide anything either. He narrated everything that had happened before in full detail. After listening, Longhaosha couldn't help but sigh. One could imagine how dangerous it was. "Grandfather, this time, the 3 major forces have suffered a heavy blow. I believe that they won't let this matter rest. If nothing unexpected happens, I can guarantee that the 3 major forces will definitely make a comeback. At that time, I won't be able to take care of the sect and family." Longhaosha finally understood what his grandson meant. In the end, Ao was afraid that something would happen to the sect and family. With a smile, Longhaosha said confidently, "Ao, if there's anything you need to do, just do it. Leave the family's matters to these old bones. I don't believe that our family will be annihilated. Grandfather, I believe in this. However, once the 3 major forces attack us, it will be like a storm. So, if the family can't withstand it at that time, you just need to find Brother Qilin. I have already informed him that he will protect our Long family. With the help of the Fire Qilin." Hearing the 3 words Fire Qilin, Longhaosha smiled and said, "Ao, with the help of Senior Fire Qilin, what are you worried about?" Of course, Longhaosha knew clearly what the Fire Qilin meant. If it was just the family's strength, it would indeed be difficult to resist the 4 major forces. With the help of the Fire Qilin, the situation would be completely reversed. Longao didn't speak of his worries because he didn't know how to say it. After all, there were some things that he had to bear by himself. "Ao, the grudge between you and the 4 major forces, how do you plan to deal with it?" Regarding this question, Longhaosha didn't have any questions because he trusted his grandson. As long as his grandson said that he could do it, Longhaosha wouldn't have the slightest doubt. As for the matter of the 4 major forces, Longao didn't know what to do. However, in order to comfort his grandfather, Longao said, "Grandfather, regarding the grudge between me and the 4 major forces, you can rest assured. Although I am still not a match for the 4 major forces, I am confident that no matter how many warriors they send out, I will not let them return." Very domineering. If someone else said this, Longhaosha would definitely scoff. However, the person who said this was his son, a super genius who had consecutively dealt heavy blows to the 4 major forces. He was the hope and expectation of the family. Because of this, Longhaosha was very confident in his grandson. As for the matter of the 4 major forces attacking the family, Longao didn't tell anyone except his grandfather, Longhaosha. especially the disciples of the Long family who were in seclusion. Longao knew that once the four major forces attacked the family wouldn't be able to resist with their current strength. They could only ask the fire Chileen for help. However, what if there was a what if? Longao wouldn't let any what if happen. Therefore, Long Haosha personally gave the order to seal off the Long family. No one was allowed to enter or leave. Those who disobeyed the order would be killed. When this order was given out, everyone was shocked and didn't know what was going on. Did something big happen in the family? However, after thinking about it, no one dared to ask Long Haosha, let alone ask Longao. They could only listen obediently because in the Long family, Longao was a godlike existence. However, Long Haosha was the most authoritative person. Not to mention the ordinary disciples, even the pillar of the Long family, a godlike existence, Longao, had to be respectful when he saw Long Haosha. Chapter 456. The Long family had sealed off the entire area and no one was allowed to enter or leave. Everyone was depressed and did not know what the Long family was doing. If it was in the past, Longao would definitely give everyone an explanation. However, this time, the Long family had sealed off the area and did not even give an explanation. Longao and Long Haosha had personally announced this to the Long family. Who would dare to go against them? According to Longao's calculations, he had killed 3 half-sages and 9 world emperors. Based on the character of the 3 forces, they would definitely come to find trouble with him. It would not take more than 10 days. But now, not to mention 10 days, even 20 days had passed in the blink of an eye. Longao did not know what had happened. Could it be that the 4 forces had collectively changed their character? That was not possible. Longao knew the character of the 4 forces too well. They would definitely take revenge. Furthermore, the 3 half-sages were existences that the 3 forces could not afford to lose. What exactly had happened? Longao sat alone on the peak of the mountain. A cool breeze blew past. There is only one reason why the 3 forces did not come for revenge. The negotiation failed. After thinking about it, Longao could only come up with such a conclusion. Until now, he still did not believe that the 3 forces would let the matter rest and give up on this life-and-death feud. If the 3 families had such characters, he would have been able to coexist peacefully with the 3 forces. Why would there be so much trouble? It was because of this that Longao guessed that the reason why the 3 forces did not come for him was that there was an internal conflict. The key point of this conflict was the ethereal palace. Longao knew that although the 4 forces seemed to be harmonious on the surface, they were actually fighting openly and secretly. They all wanted to destroy each other and dominate the entire spirit domain of the 9 states. He heaved a sigh of relief. In the end, it was just a sigh of relief. Longao knew that once the 4 forces came to an agreement, they would leave and join forces to attack the dragon sect. By then, there would be big trouble. If it was any other time, he would not be so nervous. However, the situation now was completely different. This time, he had killed 3 half-sages of the 3 forces. If there were no accidents, the 4 forces would definitely send out sages. A sage was a supreme existence above a half-sage and could be considered to have entered the illusionary divine stage. If the 4 great powers really sent saints over, the family would have the fire Chileen's help, but what about the dragon sect? Just by relying on arrays? It was impossible to withstand the attack of a saint. Longao was considering this point. Was the dragon sect going to retreat again? Foundation and strength. Longao knew that the real reason for all of this was that the foundation and strength of the sect were not very strong. Not to mention a super existence like the Long family, they could not even compete with the 4 major forces. With a deep sigh, Longao said, "Big brother Potian, I still lost in the end." Long Potian, who had just arrived, saw Longao in such a state and also sighed deeply. He said, "If even you lose, then everyone in the world has lost." Without waiting for Longao to speak, Long Potian continued, "Brother Long, if you calculate the time you have spent on the path of cultivation, it has only been a little over a year, but your achievements have already reached such a level. You have walked a path that others would not be able to walk in 10 years. Let me ask you, who can do this? Longao did not speak and only listened quietly. The foundation of the four great powers is much stronger than the sect. There is no doubt about this. However, being strong now does not mean that you will be strong in the future. Based on your development speed, I can say that in less than 10 years, or even 5 years, our dragon sect will surpass the four great powers. At that time, it will not be a problem for us to dominate the spirit realm of the 9 states. Although that was the case, what about actually doing it? Not to mention other things, just the current situation was not something that the dragon sect could resist. With regards to his own strength, Longao had a clear idea in his heart. Similarly, he also had self-awareness. If he fought a half-step saint, even if he was not as strong, he could use his innate ability, Dragon Roar, to shock his opponent and use the bloodthirsty blade to kill him when his opponent was not paying attention. However, the probability of this was only 50-50. But against a saint, Longao knew that even if he used the bloodthirsty blade and his innate ability at the same time, he would not be a match for a saint. This was the difference between a half-step saint and a saint. It was obvious just how big the gap between the two was. Big Brother Potian, are you saying that we should take a step back and rise again in the future? 10 years is not too late for a gentleman to take revenge? Yes, that is indeed what I mean. However, Brother Long, I know your personality very well. You will definitely not be willing to swallow your anger and take a step back. Since that is the case, let us fight. Whether we win or lose, at least we won't regret it in the future. What do you say? He nodded, then shook his head. All along, Longao had never been an indecisive person. But now, he was really starting to hesitate. If he was alone, Longao would not even consider it. He would directly fight force with force. At worst, he would die. However, the situation was completely different now. No matter what, he was not alone. He had the Dragon Sect, Long family, and Sin City behind him. Longao was very clear that as long as he made a decision, the Long family, Dragon Sect, and Sin City would fall into eternal damnation. At that time, there would be countless casualties. Family, brothers, Longao would not lose his life for anyone. Brother Long, have you made a decision? Laughing and crying, Longao was very unwilling in his heart. However, in the end, he made a decision and said, take a step back. Just as Big Brother Potian said, right now our strength is not as strong as the four great forces. However, it does not mean that we will never be able to surpass them. 5 years, 10 years, or even 20 years later, as long as we are willing to work hard, sooner or later, we will completely suppress the four great forces. Looking deeply in the direction of the four great forces, Longao continued, one day, I will bring my sect to the spirit realm of the 9 states and sweep away the four great forces. From then on, we will dominate the spirit realm of the 9 states. For great forces, just you wait. This will not take too long. Suddenly, a shocking aura exploded from Longao's body. His face was filled with determination. Never give up. This was one of Longao's beliefs. No matter what difficulties or dangers he faced, Longao would not choose to give up. He would face the difficulties head-on. This was Longao, a youth who would never give up. In just a short year, Longao had experienced too much. Although his cultivation had broken through rapidly, the life and death situations he had experienced were 10 times, or even 100 times more than others. In short, it was always fair to give and receive. This was the so-called Longao. 11 years ago, when he was ridiculed by everyone, Longao's counterattack had already begun. Chapter 457. Looking at the young man in front of him, Long Potion's heart was filled with admiration. If it was anyone else, they would have chosen to give up long ago, but Longao? Not only did he not choose to give up, but he also went against the flow. Long Potian was completely certain that once Longao fully matured, he would definitely not be simple. Destroying the four forces would be something that could be done in a matter of minutes. Brother Potian, give the order for all Dragon Sect disciples to leave the sect. Master, what about you? Long Potian was not a fool. Of course, he could hear some clues from the master's words. Was the sect going to stay? I want to test the sect's formation and see if it can withstand the attacks of others. Don't worry, although I'm not a match for a saint, it's still very easy for me to leave. As expected. Hearing that Longao was really going to stay, Long Potion's heart skipped a beat. It wasn't that he didn't believe in Longao, but that saints were too powerful. They weren't on the same level at all. Without hesitation, staying to fight would only be courting death. He originally thought that Longao had already thought it through, but now it seemed that Longao was still unwilling to give up and was prepared to fight head-on. He seemed to be able to guess what Long Potian was thinking. Before Long Potian could speak, Longao already said, I don't choose to fight head-on with the four forces. I want to see how powerful the formation I set up this time is. Regarding the four major forces, Longao understood them very well. For the sake of creating momentum, there was no doubt that the four great powers would not send out saints. It was precisely because of this that Longao was prepared to wipe out all the shrimp soldiers and crab generals of the four great powers in one go. It could also be considered as a small return gift to the four great powers. After hearing Longao's words, Long Potian was helpless to the extreme. However, Long Potian didn't continue to persuade because he knew Longao's character too well. Once he had decided on something, it was very difficult to change it. It was precisely because of this that Long Potian didn't continue to persuade him. Master, I hope you won't be reckless. You have to be careful in everything you do. As I said before, revenge is a dish best served cold. There's no need to go head-to-head with the four major forces. Longao nodded. How could he not know what Long Potian was worried about? Longao knew his own limits. Of course, he would not act rashly. Since he had already made up his mind, Longao did not continue to hesitate. He immediately improved all the formations that had already been set up. Longao didn't know when the four major forces would attack the sect, so he had to make preparations in advance. Longao didn't tell anyone about the four big factions preparing to attack Dragon Sect. Because of this, Longao ordered the entire sect to leave Dragon Peak. Everyone in Dragon Sect was confused. They didn't know what was going on between the master and the sect. However, everyone in the Dragon Sect knew very well that the sect was in big trouble. Otherwise, the master would not have given such an order. If it had been any other sect's disciples, they would have definitely left upon encountering such a situation. However, none of the Dragon Sect's disciples had left. No matter what happened to the sect, none of them had left. Dragon Sect, Great Hall. Master, I've already done my best. Other than a few outer sect disciples who left, all the disciples, whether they were inner sect disciples or outer sect disciples, have chosen to stay. Even if they were ordered to kill, they would still do so. Longao, who was studying the formations, was called in by Long Potian. When he heard this, Longao was a little shocked. He didn't know what was going on with these disciples. Did they not know that the sect was in trouble? Spread the news that the four big factions are attacking the sect. I believe that no one will be willing to stay. Husband and wife were birds in the same forest, but trouble came from different directions. If husband and wife were like this, then what about the sect's disciples? Because of this, even if all the disciples left the sect, Longao didn't have the slightest bit of resentment. This was human nature. It was impossible for everyone to choose to stay. If that was the case, how could it be possible? Long Potion's expression was a little strange. He didn't know how to answer. Big Brother Potian, what's wrong? Longao was very confused. Big Brother Potion's behavior was very strange today. He didn't know what had happened. Grandmaster, you should go talk to them yourself. I've already said it yesterday. But even so, none of them left. Everyone has already expressed that they will live and die with the sect. Not to mention the four major forces, even if the strongest forces were to come, they would not back down in the slightest. Hearing that, Longao suddenly stood up. His face was filled with shock because he never would have thought that even when things had reached this stage, all the disciples were still unwilling to leave. What did that mean? Longao could completely imagine that all the disciples didn't want to leave. They treated the sect as their true home. Master, all the disciples don't want to leave the sect. This means that all the disciples treat the sect as their home. They will live and die with the sect. This might not be a bad thing. Yes, I know that. Although everyone doesn't want to leave the sect, I can't harm everyone. Big Brother Potian, I'll leave this matter to you. No matter what, you have to move everyone. After thinking for a while, Longao continued, tell everyone that the sect will not give up on them, just like how they will not give up on the sect. This moment of avoidance is only temporary. We will be back very soon. At that time, we will defeat the 4 great powers. Long Potian was still very excited. No matter who it was, they would be excited when faced with such a situation. None of the disciples of the sect were willing to leave. This meant that the sect was their home and not just a place to cultivate. In fact, the reason why the disciples of the Dragon Sect made such a choice was closely related to Longao and the things that the Dragon Sect did. Once there was trouble, Longao wouldn't let the disciples be cannon fodder. Instead, he would think of all sorts of ways to protect them and move everyone. As for the treatment, it was needless to say. The treatment of the disciples of the Dragon Sect was incomparable to that of the 4 big factions. As long as one entered the Dragon Sect, whether it was the outer sect or the inner sect, they would receive great cultivation from the Dragon Sect. As long as they could improve, they would immediately enter the inner sect from the outer sect and become an even more outstanding disciple. In the face of danger, none of the disciples were willing to leave the sect. This was how the sect treated them. Long Potian left the hall because he knew very well that the danger this time wasn't something that an ordinary disciple could withstand. No one in the Dragon Sect could withstand it. After all, the 4 major forces were coming with great ferocity this time. Who knew how many experts they would send? At this moment, Dugu Bai suddenly stood up and said helplessly, Brother Long, I want to ask you for a favor. Ask. Longao was very surprised. Ever since the establishment of the Dragon Sect, Dugu Bai rarely called him Brother Long. Instead, he called him Master. Could it be that Brother Dugu encountered some trouble? Chapter 458. Big Brother Dugu, feel free to speak your mind. There's no need for this. Longao treated Dugu Bai as a true brother. Otherwise, he wouldn't have barged into Ethereal Palace alone for Dugu Bai. Dugu Bai seemed to have something he couldn't say as he stuttered. The more Dugu Bai acted this way, the more curious Longao was. He wondered what was going on. Big Brother Dugu, feel free to speak your mind. Gritting his teeth, Dugu Bai said helplessly, Brother Long, Sheji's big brother, the Snake Emperor, was chased out of the sect by Ethereal Palace. Now, he has nowhere to go and was nearly killed. Sheji and I rescued him. Everyone knew that Longao had caused havoc in Ethereal Palace back then and crippled the cultivation of the Palace Master, the Snake Emperor. Not only that, the Snake Emperor was chased out of Ethereal Palace, causing everyone to scold Ethereal Palace for being unkind. No matter what, the Snake Emperor had done his best for Ethereal Palace. Yet, he was chased out by them. Doesn't the Snake Emperor hate me? Yes, but there's nothing I can do. Dugu Bai did not lie at all. He did not want to lie to Longao. This was a true brother. Big Brother Dugu, there's no need for words between brothers. I welcome you. Looking at Longao before him, he would be lying if he said that he didn't dare to move. However, he did not say anything. Brotherhood meant nothing. The Snake Emperor was already a cripple. There was no way he could continue cultivating for the rest of his life. Otherwise, not even Longao, Dugu Bai would not have agreed to it. He could not leave danger to his brother. Hearing that Longao was willing to let bygones be bygones, the Snake Emperor was surprised. Sheji's residence, Little G, do you hate your big brother? Shaking her head, Sheji smiled, no, I don't. In this world, I only have you as my family. I believe that everything you did previously was because you were blinded by greed. This matter is in the past. After this incident, the Snake Emperor seemed to have changed into a different person. If you're willing to join Dragon Sect, you can become an elder. Furthermore, I have a way to restore your elixir field. How about that? Hearing this, the Snake Emperor's body suddenly trembled. He was very excited, but more than that, he was in disbelief. Looking at the young man who had suddenly appeared in front of him, the Snake Emperor swallowed his saliva and asked excitedly, "Can you really restore my Dantian?" Seeing Longao nod, the Snake Emperor naturally would not miss out on such an opportunity. Without hesitation, he nodded and said, "No problem. As long as you can restore my Dantian, I will join the dragon sect. As for my status, it doesn't matter." Ever since his elixir field was destroyed by Longao and he was chased out of the ethereal palace, the Snake Emperor felt as if he had fallen from the sky to the bottom of the valley. He was in great pain. In this dog-eat-dog world, one could not survive without strength. This was the norm. It was precisely because of this that the Snake Emperor could not wait to recover his strength. He did not want to live like this for the rest of his life. A world without strength was a world of darkness. It could be said that life was worse than death. Nodding, Longao chuckled in his heart. It turned out that Longao did not destroy the Snake Emperor's Dantian at all. He had left a trick up his sleeve. As for whether it would work, he did not know. But no matter what, Sheji and brother Dugu loved each other deeply, and the Snake Emperor was Sheji's brother. If he destroyed the Snake Emperor's Dantian, even if Sheji and Dugu Bai did not blame him, would his heart really be able to let it go? It was because of this that Longao took a gamble. It turned out that he had made the right bet. Sheji and the Snake Emperor were not fools. The three of them, including Dugu Bai, clearly knew that everything that Longao did was with good intentions. In just an hour, Longao had already helped the Snake Emperor restore his Dantian, and his strength had also recovered instantly. The Snake Emperor was a pinnacle world emperor. If he could break through the half-saint realm and become a half-saint warrior, wouldn't the dragon sect have another half-saint warrior? However, his soul power had been completely used up. It seemed a little unrealistic to use the dragon seal space to create a half-saint warrior. In the dark night, the cold wind blew. Dugu Bai and Sheji are satisfied to have a friend and brother like you. Longao smiled and said, "We'll be on the same side in the future. There's no need to be so polite. Longao, I really admire you. I've heard all about you. Since ancient times, you're the #1 person in the 9 provinces. I can guarantee that if you continue to develop at this speed, your future will be limitless. You can even enter the Long family to nurture you. At that time, you'll truly soar into the sky." Longao only smiled and did not speak. Because in his opinion, even if he entered the Long family in the future, it was absolutely impossible for him to become a disciple of the Long family. In Longao's heart, there was only one Long family, and that was his family. At this moment, Longao even threw away the ranks and directly called his family the Long family. Because he had already decided that no matter what happened in the future, he would lead the Long family to stand above the Long family and become the new master of the Dragon Valley. Longao, forgive me for not being able to tell you anything about the Ethereal Palace. Although the sect is not heartless to me, I can't be unjust to the sect. I hope you can understand. I understand very well. If you tell me, I'll look down on you. From the beginning to the end, Longao did not ask. Because as he had just said, even if the Snake Emperor told him, he would not listen because he did not want to look down on the Snake Emperor. Fortunately, the Snake Emperor was a person of affection and righteousness. It was only when he treated his sister that he went a little overboard. But people were not saints. Everyone made mistakes. It didn't matter if a person made a mistake once. The most frightening thing was to always make mistakes and be incurable. Longao, if I'm not wrong, the Dragon Sect has been acting strangely recently. Is it because the 4 forces are preparing to attack the Dragon Sect? Since things had already come to this point, Longao certainly would not continue to hide the truth. He told the Snake Emperor everything that had happened before. After listening, the Snake Emperor was first surprised, then his face became more and more solemn. Nodding, the Snake Emperor said, "This time, the 3 forces have lost 3 half-saints. If nothing unexpected happens, the next one will definitely be a saint. But you don't have to worry too much. The four forces have been fighting openly and secretly all year round. No one is willing to submit to the other and they all want to destroy each other. This time, the three forces have lost 3 half-saints. The ethereal palace will definitely not act rashly. He was delighted. Longao knew very well that the Snake Emperor knew the ethereal palace better than he did. After all, the Snake Emperor had been in the ethereal palace for a long time. If it were not for him, the Snake Emperor believed that the Snake Emperor would have been in the ethereal palace for even longer. Because of this, the Snake Emperor's analysis should not be too bad. As long as the four forces had internal strife, then he would have an opportunity to take advantage of. Chapter 459. Longao knew very well that it was still unknown whether the four superforces would come or not. However, no matter what, it was still necessary to take precautions. As the saying went, it was better to be safe than sorry. What if the four superforces attacked? Because of this, Longao still did not dare to be careless. He was fully alert and was constantly on guard against any sudden attacks from the four superforces. In the end, Longao's worries were unnecessary. This was because the four superforces did not send any experts over from the beginning. Not even a strand of hair. It could be said that it was a false alarm. What were the four superforces trying to do? This time, the four superforces had completely confused Longao. He did not know what the four superforces were up to. Longao heaved a sigh of relief when the four superforces did not attack the sect. However, at this moment, Long Ming told Longao that he wanted to return to the 9th underworld space to avenge his family and parents. Based on Long Ming's current strength, it was not difficult for him to take revenge. However, what if there were illusionary divine spirit beasts among the 9 superforces? However, Long Ming had made up his mind and was determined to take revenge on his own. He did not want Lin Fan's help. Longao had no choice but to agree. Just like that, Long Ming left Longao for the first time and entered the 9th underworld space to avenge his family and parents. In other words, he was looking for the 9 superforces, the Abyss Scorpion tribe, the Azure Lion tribe, the Blood-Eyed Demonic Ape tribe, the Sky Mountain Bull tribe, the Bloodthirsty Human-Faced Spider tribe, the Metal-Devouring Flying Ant tribe, the Hellhound tribe, and the Reaper Mantis tribe. Longao was very worried. However, there was nothing he could do. Without Long Ming's help, he could not even enter the 9th underworld space. He wanted to, but he was powerless. The 9 regions were Sky Region, Earth Region, Sun Region, Moon Region, Sunset Region, Cloud Region, Crimson Region, Illusion Region, and Black Forest Region. The current Longao was the absolute overlord of the 9 prefectures. After all, with the withdrawal of the 4 major forces, no one in the 9 prefectures was a match for the Longao. It was precisely because of this that Longao was preparing to upgrade his hegemony, which was the so-called consolidation of his hegemony. In this way, when the time came to war with the 4 major forces, at the very least, he could unite the forces of the 9 provinces to fight against the 4 major forces. Longao did not take action personally. Instead, he left everything to the Snake Emperor. The reason Longao had made such a decision was not because the Snake Emperor was Sheji, but because he valued the Snake Emperor's ability. No matter what, the Snake Emperor was once the palace master of the ethereal palace. Some of the abilities he possessed were incomparable to others. The Snake Emperor was very touched because he knew how important the task Longao gave him was. No matter what, he told himself that he had to do a good job and not let others look down on him. It was a quiet night without a sound. Suddenly, thunder rumbled and the entire world was filled with thunder and lightning. At this moment, 2 figures suddenly appeared. Upon closer look, it turned out to be a human warrior and a black dragon that was more than 100 meters long. The man and the dragon attacked the thunder and lightning crazily as if they were ignoring the thunder and lightning. Heaven's way, heaven's way. Ha ha ha, the heaven's way is unfair. Why should I serve it? Today, I, the dragon, will slaughter the heaven's way. The man and the dragon stared at the 9 heavens. At this moment, the wind howled and the entire ground began to tremble as if there was an earthquake. At the peak of the 9 heavens, a huge face suddenly appeared. It looked down at the man and the dragon with contempt. A majestic voice sounded. Long Tien, primordial divine dragon, you guys are trying to go against the heaven's way. You guys are really courting death. I want to see how you guys are going to go against the heaven's way. Ha 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 ha, heaven's way, heaven's way. This is the most ridiculous thing in the world. Ridiculous? Although your strength is already at the pinnacle of martial arts, I still want to tell you that you guys are far from enough in front of the heaven's way. Today, I will show you what the heaven's way is and what the true pinnacle of martial arts is. The man and the dragon ignored the huge face. Because of this, the man and the dragon charged at the huge face crazily. Their strong confidence told the man and the dragon that they could only win this battle and not lose. The man and the dragon knew that this battle was extremely important. If they won, they would be the rulers of the world in the future. If they lost, they would definitely lose their lives. However, the man and the dragon still chose to go head-on against the so-called heaven's way, which was also the strongest existence in the world. Just as the man and the dragon charged forward crazily, they were shocked to find that their bodies were suddenly locked in place. They couldn't move at all. What was going on? Not daring to be careless, the man and the dragon circulated the energy in their body crazily in an attempt to break the lock. However, the result was still to no avail. Left with no choice, Long Tien took out a small black seal from his chest and smashed it at the huge face. Not only that, the man and the dragon used the method of mutual destruction. They poured all their blood essence into the small black seal. A dazzling light shrouded the world, so bright that the huge face couldn't open its eyes. After breaking free from the lock, the man and the dragon were extremely excited. They didn't dare to hesitate and charged at the huge face with all their strength. However, the man and the dragon knew that with their strength, they were no match for the huge face. However, in the current situation, it was impossible for them to leave smoothly. There was only one way: mutual destruction. The man and the dragon looked at each other and saw the determination in each other's eyes. However, at this moment, Long Tien suddenly attacked and stopped the primordial divine dragon. The primordial divine dragon's body instantly exploded and died. Then, the small black seal released the most terrifying power in history and directly hit the huge face. Ah! The huge face screamed. It never thought that it would be injured by the other party. In a rage, it began to attack the primordial divine dragon crazily. The man and the dragon together were no match for the heaven's way, let alone the primordial divine dragon alone. Without a doubt, the primordial divine dragon was no match for the huge face. Its body was instantly destroyed. However, at this moment, it was unknown if it was because of Long Tien's last bit of soul power that the primordial divine dragon's soul was sucked into the space of the small black seal. Long Tien, I will tear you into pieces and never let you rise again. Heaven's way, I will definitely be back. I will not admit defeat. I will never admit defeat. Looking at the small black seal shooting into the distance, the huge face was ready to intercept it. However, the small black seal was too fast. It didn't give the huge face any chance. The small black seal had already broken through space and disappeared into the sky like a meteor. The huge face's expression was extremely ugly. It was gloomy to the extreme, but there was nothing it could do. Although it was the heaven's way, the small black seal was too fast and broke through space. There was no way it could intercept it. Chapter 460. Longao sat on the peak of the mountain. He sat there quietly, looking at the endless void in the distance. The night was terrifyingly silent. Until now, Longao still hadn't reacted. Because not long ago, he had a very strange dream, a very realistic dream. Primordial Divine Dragon? Who is Long Tien? Primordial Divine Dragon, Longao naturally knew that it was the ancestor of the Dragon clan. Since that was the case, wouldn't Long Tien in his dream be the ancestor of the Long family? The small black seal, could it be the dragon seal, the space where Long Fu was? Everything was so inconceivable. Because until now, Longao still couldn't understand why he would have such a dream. What did it mean? Longao didn't ask Long Fu, because he knew that even if he asked, Long Fu wouldn't answer him. Right now, he wasn't sure if the small black seal in his dream was the dragon seal in his dantian. But in the end, Longao couldn't hold back the curiosity in his heart. As the saying goes, curiosity killed the cat. Inside the dragon seal space Long Fu, I had a dream earlier. Then, Longao spoke about his ferocious actions in detail, especially about Long Tian and the small black seal. His meaning was already very clear. Long Fu, I really want to know, is Long Tian the ancestor of the Long family? That's right. The small black seal, is it the dragon seal space? Yes. Sure enough, it seemed that his guesses were correct. Because of that, Longao became even more curious and asked, Long Fu, I really want to know, why did I have such a dream? Longao was extremely curious about this. Master, according to my guess, this should be caused by the remnant soul left behind in the dragon seal space. Back then, when Long Tian self-detonated, a trace of his soul entered the dragon seal space. However, it has now completely disappeared. Long Fu, tell me honestly, was the previous owner of the dragon seal the ancestor of the Long family? No. Wasn't it? All of this made Longao completely confused. At this time, Long Fu continued, Master, you don't know. The dragon seal space's consciousness will continuously disappear and reappear. Therefore, I don't dare to answer you. I only know one thing, and that is that I only have one master right now, and that is you. Longao didn't continue asking because Long Fu's answer was very clear. No matter what, the grudges between the primordial divine dragon, Long Tian, and the heavenly Tao had nothing to do with him. Since that was the case, why did he need to know about this? He then turned around and left the dragon seal space. Within the dragon seal space, the moment Longao left, the blood bubbles in the blood pool started rolling even more crazily. Gurgle, gurgle, Master, I don't know what you mean by this. Why did you tell Master Longao about this? Suddenly, a black shadow appeared in the blood pool. It rolled around continuously, and the blood bubbles filled the entire dragon seal space. A dignified voice rang out from the blood pool. I don't have much time. I have to create Longao as fast as I can. Success or failure depends on this. No matter what, I have to succeed this time. I want revenge, I want revenge. Hearing that he wanted revenge, Long Fu didn't say anything else. He still had an indifferent expression. Longao didn't continue to dwell on this strange dream. In his opinion, the grudges between a man and a dragon had nothing to do with him at all. From the beginning to the end, Longao didn't have the slightest sense of belonging to the Long family. In the following days, other than researching the art of pill concoction and the art of setting up arrays, Longao spent most of his time on cultivation. Longao knew that the most important thing now was to break through to the illusionary divine stage as fast as possible. The difference between the illusionary divine stage and the illusionary divine stage was too great. Longao knew that even though he could kill a half-sage now, he wouldn't succeed every time. He would have to take a huge risk. However, once he broke through to the illusionary divine stage, even if he couldn't kill a half-sage instantly, he would be able to look down on them. It was because of this that Longao put in all his effort to cultivate. He strived to convert the spiritual energy in his body into holy energy. The Void World Emperor, who was at the peak of the Void World, had to transform his spiritual source into Saint Origin to break through to the illusionary divine stage. The difference between the two was spiritual energy and holy energy. Under normal circumstances, the illusionary divine world emperor and a half-sage martial artist couldn't be compared at all. After all, the difference in strength couldn't be compared to other things. However, there were exceptions to everything. As long as Longao seized the opportunity, he would have a chance to kill a half-sage martial artist once he used his special ability and blood-sucking blade. However, not everyone was like Longao. Not everyone had the innate ability and the blood-sucking blade. Outside the 9 provinces' secret land, Yi Wushuang looked at the 9 provinces' secret land that had been completely sealed. His face was extremely cold. He had no idea what had happened. Why did his master suddenly seal the 9 provinces' secret land? Did his master not want to find a successor to deal with him? Back then, Yi Wushuang had killed Fen Tian. He had quickly found Fen Tian's whereabouts, but he had never appeared. There were two reasons why Yi Wushuang did not kill him. The first reason was that the 9 provinces' secret land was a terrifying formation set up by his master. He did not dare to enter and did not have the confidence to break the formation. The second reason was Yi Wushuang's greed. It was very simple. Yi Wushuang's formation skills had only inherited 80% of Fen Tian's and had not reached the peak. It was precisely because of this that Yi Wushuang wanted to seize his master's final formation skill. Everything was under control. However, Yi Wushuang had never thought that his master Fen Tian would seal the 9 provinces' secret land. Could it be that he had already found a successor? Thinking of this, Yi Wushuang's expression turned even colder. ****, I've already found a successor. Ha 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 ha, one day, he'll help me clean up the sect. Yi Wushuang did not react at all because he knew that this voice was the last remnant of consciousness. In other words, his master Fen Tian had truly died, and his body and soul had been destroyed. Clenching his fists tightly, Yi Wushuang suddenly laughed coldly and said coldly, "Old fart, even if you die, you're not willing to teach me the final formation skill. You actually want to find a successor to take revenge. Do you think you're worthy?" Yi Wushuang was full of confidence. With his current strength and formation skills, unless his master Fen Tian was reborn, how many people in the entire continent could defeat him in the formation skill? "I'll wait for your successor to come. I hope he won't disappoint me. He. Yi Wushuang did not stay any longer. He turned around and left. Chapter 461. 10 days later. Longao sighed deeply in his heart. After cultivating for 10 whole days, there was still no sign of a breakthrough. A world emperor at the peak of the Void Realm was only one step away from officially breaking through to the Sage-to-Be realm. However, this one step was like an insurmountable gap that was difficult to cross. Longao knew very well that it was impossible to break through to the Sage-to-Be realm from the Void Realm. Opportunity and enlightenment were the only ways to break through to the Sage-to-Be realm. However, Longao knew that whether it was opportunity or enlightenment, it would not happen all the time. The biggest reason for such things was still luck. Shrugging his shoulders helplessly, Longao stood up and stretched. Since there was no way to break through to the Sage-to-Be realm, Longao did not force himself. The more he forced himself, the harder it would be to break through. Until now, the 4 major forces had not made any moves to attack the sect. However, Longao still did not dare to be careless. After all, no one knew when the 4 major forces would attack. It was because of this that Longao was always prepared. Dragon Sect, Great Hall. Master, we have spread our forces throughout the 9 states. I believe that at this rate, we will be able to control the 9 states in less than 3 years. Longao nodded his head. After all, the Dragon Sect was on the right track. The Snake Emperor was indeed the palace master of the Ethereal Palace. He believed that no one in the entire Dragon Sect could match up to him. Longao was very impressed and said, 3 years is enough. Elder Snake, you have worked hard. You are welcome. No one envied the Snake Emperor because his ability and strength were there for all to see. The Dragon Sect was developing well and there was no fighting among themselves like the other sects. In the following period of time, Dugubai and the others reported one by one. Although Longao usually did not care about matters, no matter what, Longao was still the sect master of the Dragon Sect. No matter who it was, no one's position was higher than Longao's. After listening to everyone's report, Longao nodded his head. Now that the Dragon Sect was on the right track, at this rate, it wouldn't even take 3 years. At most, it would take 2.5 years to achieve its goal. However, Longao knew very well that even if he developed for 2.5 years, it would still be very difficult for him to fight against the 4 major forces, which were the so-called Level 3 Long Family, Nether Mansion, Imperial City, and Ethereal Palace. An army of corpse slaves. In the end, if he wanted to lead the sect to resist the 4 great powers, then the Corpse Demon Army was the fastest and most effective method. So Longao had already decided that no matter what happened, He would use the fastest speed to create an invincible corpse demon army. The corpse slave army was all immortal. Once it was created, even if its foundation and strength could not compete with the four major forces, the four major forces would definitely not dare to rashly attack him and the dragon sect. However, at this time, Longao's complexion suddenly changed. He said, "I'll leave this matter to you guys. Remember, if you can't make the decision, just ask Elder Snake." No one knew what had happened. Why did the sect leader suddenly leave? Could it be that something big had happened? Longao's heart was filled with worry. He immediately got up and left. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared without a trace. At the back mountain of the dragon sect, Longao tried to communicate with Long Ming, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't. He had just received Long Ming's call for help, as if he was on the brink of death. It was because of this that Longao was so nervous and worried. This time, Long Ming had gone to the 9 nether space alone to deal with the so-called 8 royal families. If the 8 royal families only had a spiritual beast of the world emperor, then everything would be easy. However, the problem now was that no one dared to guarantee that the 8 royal families didn't have a spiritual beast of the illusionary divine level. After all, based on Long Ming's strength, ordinary spiritual beasts of the void were no match for him. Longao could almost guess that there must be a spiritual beast of the illusionary divine level in the 8 royal families, and Long Ming had even encountered one. If there were no accidents, Long Ming would definitely be valued by the spiritual beast of the illusionary divine level. Longao was completely depressed. Without Long Ming's power to open the passage, he couldn't enter the 9 nether space at all. Longao was like an ant on a hot pan as he paced back and forth. "Long Ming, are you there? Long Ming, Long Ming, Long Ming." He didn't know how many times he had shouted. Just as Longao was about to accept reality and think that Long Ming had fallen, a weak aura came. However, it was impossible to open the passage with this weak aura. Even so, Longao couldn't help but be pleasantly surprised. As long as Long Ming's aura could be transmitted over, he was confident that he could forcefully open the passage to the 9 nether space. Longao was very worried about Long Ming's safety. No matter how much trouble it would cause if the passage to the 9 nether space was forcefully opened, he couldn't care less. With the arm of the divine dragon and the devouring bloodsucker, Longao used all the strength in his body and Long Chong's strength. An invincible fist force was instantly unleashed. Longao and Long Ming could sense each other's aura. His fist landed squarely on the passage. The surrounding space was trembling. Longao used 120% of his strength in this punch. The entire passageway was smashed open by this punch. The opening this time was different from the last time. This time, Longao smashed open the passageway forcefully. This meant that if Longao didn't repair this passage as soon as possible, the 2 spaces would be connected. By then, anyone would be able to enter and exit freely. The spiritual beasts of the 9 nether space could enter the land of the 9 states, and the martial artists and spiritual beasts of the land of the 9 states could also enter the 9 nether space. Longao didn't want to disrupt the balance. However, the situation was too urgent and he couldn't care less about the passage. He immediately followed the direction he sensed. Longao was very fast, but it wasn't enough. After all, he didn't know whether Long Ming was dead or alive. Who knew what had happened? If he was late and Long Ming was injured, he wouldn't be able to rest easy for the rest of his life. It was because of this that Long Chong's body appeared. Longao stood on Long Chong's body and the man and dragon ran as fast as they could. The surroundings were barren. Long Ming stared at the many spiritual beasts in front of him. They were the spiritual beasts of the 8 royal families. The leaders of the 8 royal families were all present, and there were also 8 illusionary divine spirit beasts of the 8 royal families. Otherwise, the leaders of the 8 royal families would not be able to defeat Long Ming. After all, Long Ming's strength was obvious. When you were sent out by your parents, I thought that I would never have the chance to kill you. I didn't expect you to walk right into my trap. You have guts. However, you will die eventually. We can give you a chance. F*CKU. Before the spiritual beasts of the 8 royal families could react, a dragon's roar was heard. Then, a terrifying sword radiance slashed towards them. The spiritual beasts of the 8 royal families were so frightened that they quickly dodged. They didn't dare to take the attack head-on. Chapter 462. Longao was not courteous at all. This slash was infused with the aura of the heavens and earth. This slash was earth-shattering. This slash was filled with killing intent. This slash was the most powerful move of the dragon sect. It was unstoppable. Catcher, catcher, catcher. Cries of agony could be heard as the spiritual beasts were devoured by the sword radiance. Luckily, the leaders of the 8 royal families and the 8 illusionary divine dream masters had escaped quickly. Otherwise, all the spiritual beasts would have died here. Abyss Scorpion Tribe, Azure Lion Tribe, Blood-Eyed Demonic Ape Tribe, Sky Mountain Bull Tribe, Bloodthirsty Human Face Spider Tribe, Metal-Devouring Flying Ant Tribe, Hellhound Tribe and Reaper Mantis Tribe. The leaders of the 8 royal families stared at the young man who had suddenly appeared in front of them. They were not unfamiliar with this young man. How did his strength increase so quickly? If they had not seen it with their own eyes, it would have been hard to imagine. The leaders of the 8 royal families knew what the slash meant. They could not care less about their tribesmen who had been devoured by the sword radiance. At this moment, the leaders of the 8 royal families and the 8 sacred beasts stared coldly at Longao and Long Ming. Their intentions were clear: kill them without mercy. Seeing that his elder brother had arrived, Long Ming was obviously excited. He knew that his elder brother would not abandon him. After sending Long Ming into the dragon seal space, Longao looked coldly at the spiritual beasts and sacred beasts in front of him. He laughed coldly and said, "Those who hurt my brother shall die." Longao did not know why the leaders of the 8 royal families could speak. According to the Fire Chelene, spiritual beasts could only speak when they had broken through to the Emperor realm. However, there were some spiritual beasts who were gifted and weak but could still speak. "You are Longao? None of your business." The leaders of the 8 royal families did not seem to care. They laughed coldly and said, "Longao, you don't have to be so arrogant. I can give you a chance. As long as you hand over your inheritance and treasures, we will be magnanimous and let you go. Otherwise, F*CKU. He did not say anything nice to the leaders of the 8 royal families. Those who dared to hurt Longao's brother knew what would happen to them. "Longao, do you really think that with your strength alone, you can fight against the 8 great royal families?" The 8 clan leaders looked at their clansmen behind them. Without a doubt, the 8 great saint beasts were all half-saint spiritual beasts. With their strength, they could easily send out any one of their saint beasts, let alone joining forces. It was precisely because of this that the 8 patriarchs did not place Longao in their eyes at all. They thought that Longao was just courting death. However, Longao did not place any of the saint beasts in his eyes. His words were still the same. If anyone dared to hurt his brothers, no matter who it was, even if the Heavenly Emperor came, he would not be able to do so. It was precisely because of this that both sides were ready to fight at any moment. "Longao, I'll give you one last chance. Hand over the inheritance, and you and the remaining survivors can leave." If, before the 8 patriarchs could finish their words, Longao's body had already rushed out. Before he arrived, the terrifying blade light had already arrived. This time, Longao did not intend to leave. Long Ming's life was still unknown. If he could not avenge Long Ming, even if he left, he would feel uneasy for the rest of his life. In the blink of an eye, the 2 sides were already fighting. However, the 8 great saint beasts did not join forces because each saint beast was proud. At this time, the Abyss Demon Scorpion Saint Beast came out alone to fight with Longao. In the blink of an eye, they had fought for 30 rounds. The 8 patriarchs and the 7 great saint beasts were incomparably shocked because none of the saint beasts could imagine that Longao could actually fight with a saint beast for 30 rounds. What kind of concept was this? However, Longao did not give the Abyss Demon Scorpion the slightest chance. The anger in his body turned into billowing murderous aura, integrated into the wild devouring blade, and fiercely slashed out. Innate ability, Dragon Roar. In order to end the battle quickly, Longao directly used innate ability, Dragon Roar. The Abyss Demon Scorpion, who was originally incomparably shocked, found that its body was locked, and even the flow of time around it was changed. Its whole body was stunned on the spot. How could Longao easily choose to give up such a rare opportunity? Seizing the opportunity, while the Abyss Demon Scorpion was stunned, Longao's body also moved. 8 styles of Wild Devouring, 8 styles combined into one, fused into Wild Devouring, and fiercely slashed down. Under normal circumstances, it would be very difficult for Longao to kill a Saint Beast. However, the current situation was completely different. The Abyss Demon Scorpion was deeply shocked by Longao's innate ability. It was stunned for a few seconds, but Longao took advantage of it. For an expert, a few seconds was enough to determine the outcome of a battle. Catcher, the Abyss Demon Scorpion was swallowed by the blade light, and did not even have the chance to scream. Seeing this scene, all the Saint Beasts and the 8 patriarchs were completely stunned, and their faces were filled with disbelief. Until now, all the Saint Beasts of the 8 royal families were still a little in disbelief. They did not know how Longao did it. They did not want to believe it, but the truth was in front of them. The Abyss Demon Scorpion was obliterated in one slash, and the remaining 7 Saint Beasts did not dare to continue hesitating. In this situation, face was bullshit. They had to deal with this human first. Blue Clear Wild Lion Saint Beast, Blood-Eye Demonic Ape Saint Beast, Heavenly Mountain Wild Bull Saint Beast, Bloodthirsty Human Face Spider Saint Beast, Metal Devouring Flying Ant Saint Beast, Hell Demon Dog Saint Beast, and Reaper Mantis Saint Beast. Fighting 1 against 7, Longao knew that he could not be a match for the 7 Saint Beasts. A wise man does not fight when the odds are against him. As the saying goes, revenge is a dish best served cold. If he lost his life, wouldn't revenge be nonsense? Thinking of this, Longao did not fight the 7 Saint Beasts head-on. Instead, he ruthlessly slashed the 7 Saint Beasts with his blade, turned around, and quickly left. However, the 7 Saint Beasts obviously did not want to let Longao go, and chased after him. Longao communicated with Longao, and borrowed the last of his strength to help Longao leave the 9 nether space. As for the 8 royal families, they were unable to do this. Just after leaving the 9 nether space, Longao did not dare to hesitate. He immediately used the power of the Dragon Seal space to completely seal the passage, so that the 8 royal families could not come out. Until now, Longao could finally breathe a sigh of relief. But at this time, Long Ming suddenly appeared with a determined expression and communicated with Longao. After receiving Long Ming's meaning, Longao's face was gloomy to the extreme. Long Ming was prepared to continue to the 9 nether space. No matter what happened, he had to take revenge. Of course, Longao would not let Long Ming take the risk alone, but Long Ming would not agree no matter what. However, Long Ming had a request, and that was to take away half of the corpse slaves. If it was someone else, Longao would not give it, but Longao did not hesitate at all. He directly gave Long Ming half of the corpse slaves, and all of them were powerful corpse slaves. Chapter 463. Longao knew Long Ming's character very well. If he insisted on stopping him, he believed that Long Ming would force his way into the 9 nether space. Even if Long Ming listened to him and didn't enter the 9 nether space, he believed that he wouldn't be happy. Was he really going to watch Long Ming be unhappy? Because of this, Longao still chose to agree after much consideration. Longao had already thought about it. As long as Long Ming was in danger, he would break the seal and enter again. Anyway, he could find the exact location of the passage without using Long Ming's aura. After sending Long Ming away, Longao's face didn't look too good. The 9 nether space originally belonged to the 9 royal families. The 9 nether earthly tiger clan had always been the ruler. However, it was because of the betrayal of the 8 royal families that the 9 nether earthly tiger clan was exterminated. If it wasn't for Long Ming, Longao wouldn't have known about the 9 nether earthly tiger clan. However, the problem now was that Long Ming was his brother. He couldn't ignore him. "Master, what happened?" Seeing Longao return to the main hall, everyone was curious. They didn't know what happened to the master. However, when they saw that the master's face was very ugly, they guessed that something big must have happened to the master. Waving his hand, Longao didn't want to talk about it. Seeing the master like this, everyone tactfully kept quiet. However, they were even more curious and worried in their hearts. What happened to the master? In the 9 nether space, Long Ming brought many corpse slaves with him. He didn't fight force with force like last time because he knew that there were sacred beasts among the 8 royal families. It would be difficult for him to take revenge. Because of this, he had to increase his strength while attacking them one by one. The 9 nether space was boundless. It wouldn't be easy for the 8 royal families to find him in a short time. However, there was only one thing that Long Ming had to do first, and that was to heal his injuries. After being defeated by the sacred beasts, his injuries were quite serious. It seemed that it would be difficult for him to recover in a short time. The reason why Long Ming chose to enter the 9 nether space immediately this time was because he wanted to train himself while he was alone. Otherwise, if he always lived under his big brother's protection, when would it ever end? Big brother Dugu, I'll leave the matters of the sect to you and Elder Snake for the time being. I'll be preparing to go into seclusion to cultivate during this period. Yes, Master. Longao did not stay any longer. He turned around and returned to the back of the mountain. This battle with the 8 great saint beasts had deepened Longao's understanding. With his current realm, it was impossible for him to kill the saint beasts. Unless the saint beasts were suppressed by his innate divine ability, he would have a chance. But if there were 2 sacred beasts, 3 saint beasts, if he was lucky, he might be able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But if he was unlucky, the consequences would be unimaginable. It was precisely because of this that Longao could not wait to break through. He knew clearly that once his cultivation reached the illusionary divine stage, killing a half-sage martial artist would be a piece of cake. He would not have to be so restrained anymore. At this moment, Longao was ready to stake everything on this. He prepared to break through with all his might and put all his focus on cultivation. The process of converting spiritual energy into holy energy was extremely difficult. Longao seemed to have touched the threshold of the illusionary divine stage, but he was still unable to pass this stage. It would be a lie to say that he was not anxious. It was an extremely important stage, but he was still unable to pass it. This caused Longao to wonder if he was stuck at this stage for the rest of his life. In the dragon seal space, Longao asked gloomily, Long Fu, why is my cultivation still unable to break through? I can already feel that I have touched the threshold of the illusionary divine stage, but I am still unable to take this step. What exactly is the problem? Longao knew clearly that only Long Fu would know the answer to this question. Looking at his impatient and gloomy master, Long Fu said helplessly, Master, with your talent and physique, I believe that you should have broken through to the illusionary divine stage long ago. But for some reason, your cultivation is still stuck at this stage. I am unable to do anything about this. Oh no, even Long Fu did not know. Longao did not know who to ask. At the same time, Longao was very clear about one thing. Once Long Fu said this, it meant that his breakthrough to the illusionary divine stage had nothing to do with his physique. This meant that whether he could break through to the illusionary divine stage had nothing to do with the amount of energy he absorbed. It seemed that he could only rely on luck and opportunity. What should he do? Sighing helplessly, Longao knew that he did not know how long he would have to wait to break through to the illusionary divine stage. Longao did not choose to give up. Throughout his journey, no matter what happened, no matter what difficulties he faced, he would grit his teeth and persevere. How could he choose to give up after such a small setback? Longao did not continue with his closed-door cultivation. Instead, he left the sect and did not dare to go too far. He headed back to his family. At this moment, Longao was very worried about Long Ming's safety. He did not know how Long Ming was doing. It was because of this that Longao did not dare to leave the dragon sect. If something happened to Long Ming and he was unable to rush back, he would be harming Long Ming. Returning to the Long family, Longao first chatted with his parents and grandfather for a while. Following which, he had a good time with Aoshue and was completely relaxed. Rascal, did something happen to you during this period of time? Aoshue seemed to have returned to being the arrogant and unruly lady of the Ghost King sect. Longao smiled helplessly. To be honest, he was very willing to see this side of Aoshue because he knew clearly that this side of Aoshue was her true personality. Nothing, I just met a bottleneck in my cultivation and am feeling a little bitter. With a smile, Aoshue said with an envious face, alright, you are still young and bitter. Your cultivation speed is definitely the best among your peers. It is just a little bottleneck. I believe that this bottleneck will not last for too long. How about this? I will go out with you and live the life of an ordinary person. This way, maybe your bottleneck will disappear automatically. Longao did not reject and nodded his head. Just like that, the two of them left the family and went to the secular world to experience life. Experiencing life with Aoshue, Longao was completely relaxed. His heart was relaxed. Although his cultivation was still unable to break through to the half-saint realm, this relaxation was of great significance to Longao. During this period, Longao did not think about anything, including Yu Yin, Long Ming, and the bottleneck in his cultivation. It was as if he had thrown everything away. He just wholeheartedly brought Aoshue to the secular world and experienced life as they walked. Chapter 464. Cloud State, Cloud City. As the largest city in the Cloud State, Cloud City was extremely prosperous. It gave off an endless feeling of a sea of people. Longao and Aoshue had unknowingly arrived in the Cloud State and Cloud City, where they stayed temporarily. This time around, the two of them could be said to have stayed wherever they went. They did not choose a place intentionally. I want to buy some rouge and face powder. Wait for me at the restaurant. Nodding his head, Longao said, be careful. I'll wait for you after I order some food. Longao was not worried about Aoshue's safety. No matter what, with Aoshue's strength, she could be considered as an expert in the mortal world. Most people would not be a match for her. Aoshue was a woman. As a woman, she liked to dress up. Therefore, she had to buy rouge and face powder. This was a problem that everyone in the world knew. Aoshue did not enter the expensive store. Instead, she came to the side of the street and looked at a carpet that was not bad. Miss, you have a good eye. This is our newest rouge and face powder. With your beauty, you will definitely look 100 times prettier. Aoshue chose her own and did not bother about the other party. F***CK. Such a beautiful lady, I can't stand it. Hurry up. The moment they heard the words of Fu Shaohai, the two honorables were filled with disgust in their hearts as they glared at him with disdain. However, as the two guardians of the Cloud sect, their duty was to protect this shameless and despicable young master. Young master. Sure. Fu Shaohai waved his hand. He was completely stunned by Aoshue's beauty and did not care about the two of them. Fu Shaohai was the young master of the Cloud sect. His father, Fu Dongliu, was the master of the Cloud sect. At the same time, he was a powerful heavenly lord. In the Cloud state, the Cloud sect could be considered as the #1 superpower. As the young master of the Cloud sect, Fu Shaohai was a shameless profligate. He loved beauties the most. In the Cloud City, everyone was afraid of this young master, especially the girls. How could Fu Shaohai give up on such a beautiful girl so easily? Scram! Aoshue's face instantly turned cold, and a murderous aura emanated from his body. If it wasn't for the fact that he didn't want to ruin the atmosphere of this trip, he might have already attacked. Aoshue had seen too many of these hedonistic disciples and was extremely disgusted with them. Instead of getting angry, Fu Shaohai laughed. Ha ha ha, what a feisty little girl. I like it. Little girl, give me a smile. What the hell are you laughing at? The more Aoshue behaved like this, the more excited Fu Shaohai became. He couldn't wait to take this beauty on the spot. He chuckled and reached out his hands to grab Aoshue's twin peaks. This grab was quite skillful. Ah! Fu Shaohai let out a blood-curdling scream. His face was pale as he retreated. Both of his hands were almost crippled. This was only because Aoshue did not kill him. Otherwise, Fu Shaohai would have been dead. The two supremacies were shocked, because no one would have thought that this seemingly weak and delicate young girl was a Unification Realm warrior. Fu Shaohai was just a small one-line sky warrior. How could he be a match for a Unification warrior? The two supremacies directly attacked, locking onto Aoshue with just their aura. Aoshue's heart thumped. Of course, she knew how strong the other party was. She did not dare to be careless and immediately turned to leave. But supremacies were supremacies. How could they let Aoshue leave? Fu Shaohai was injured by Aoshue. If he just ran away like this, the two supremacies would not be able to answer to Yun sect. You motherf***, you dare to hurt me. Today, I'll let you know what it means to be a man. Fu Shaohai looked at Aoshue with a lewd expression and laughed as he walked towards her, enduring the pain from his hands. Aoshue was extremely angry, but under the suppression of the two supremacies' aura, she couldn't even move, let alone resist or leave. What should she do? Just as Fu Shaohai's hands were about to grab Aoshue's twin peaks, a blood-curdling scream rang out again. His entire body flew backwards, giving the two supremacies a fright. They had no idea what had happened. After all, Aoshue was only a Unification Realm warrior. How could she possibly injure the young sect master under their suppression? Before the two master could figure out what had happened, a blood-red-haired young man in black suddenly appeared. Slap, slap, each of them was slapped so hard that they couldn't tell north from south. Helping the Avildor, what's the use of your strength? The young man who had just appeared was none other than Longao. Longao had just entered the restaurant, and before he could order, he heard a lot of discussion outside, saying that the young master of Yun's sect was bullying a young girl again. For some reason, Longao felt that something had happened to Aoshue. Thankfully, he had made it in time. Otherwise, Longao couldn't imagine what would have happened. Because of this, Longao's anger was at its peak. Without giving the two supremacies any chance to react, he struck out and killed both of them with a single punch. Looking at the two corpses beside him, Fu Shaohai, who had just stood up, was shocked. He had not expected that someone would dare to kill two guardians within Yun City. This was like trying to pull a tooth out of a tiger's mouth. Kid, how dare you kill us? Slap, 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 slap. Kid, ***. The mistake you have made cannot be forgiven. Crack. Longao's foot landed squarely on Fu Shaohai's little brother. Fu Shaohai, who had fainted, screamed like a pig being slaughtered. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. They did not know where this young man came from. How dare he hurt the young master of Yun sect? He was courting death. No one dared to stand out. After all, if a young master of Yun sect dared to do this, one could imagine his status. I'll spare your life. I want you to experience the pain of losing the pleasure of the bedroom. Let's go. Longao could not be bothered with Fu Shaohai. Pulling Aoshue's hand, he walked into the distance. Before long, they had disappeared without a trace. At this moment, screams could be heard. Fu Shaohai was in so much pain that he grimaced. Even if he fainted, there was nothing he could do. After all, his little brother had been broken. This kind of pain was not something a human could enjoy. Furthermore, with his little brother broken, it meant that he would never be able to enjoy the pleasure of the bedroom again. Chapter 465. Cloud Sect, the strongest sect in Cloud State. Cloud Sect, Main Hall. The master of Cloud Sect, Fu Dongliu, had a dark expression on his face. Someone dared to hurt his son in Cloud City. His son was crippled and his life was unknown. They even lost two supremacies. Have you found out who it is? The Cloud Sect disciple shuddered. He did not dare to hesitate in the slightest as he immediately replied, reporting to the sect master, "We have yet to find out the identity of the other party. However, we can confirm that they are a man and a woman." What is going on? Sect master. Following that, The Cloud sect's disciple began to narrate everything that had happened earlier in full detail. After listening, Fu Donglio's face turned even darker. However, he sighed deeply in his heart. After all, how could he not know what his son had done? Although Fu Shaohai was a playboy, he had Cloud sect as his backing. Who in Cloud City would dare to provoke him? Not just Cloud City, even in the entire Cloud State, there were not many people who dared to provoke Cloud City. They were courting death. Fu Dongliu was furious to the extreme. He was like a volcano that was about to erupt. However, his rationality suppressed his impulse. Fu Dongliu was not a fool. Of course, he knew that since the other party dared to cripple his son and kill 2 supremacies of Cloud sect in broad daylight, they must be fearless. What if they had something to rely on? Go, find out who this person is. Yes, Master. After a while, the alchemist of Cloud sect walked out from the inner room. His face was filled with helplessness and depression. Seeing the alchemist's expression, Fu Donglio's heart skipped a beat. He asked anxiously, "Brother Ji, how is Shaohai?" "Master, I have tried my best. Even if young master can be cured, he will become a cripple in the future." Hearing this, Fu Dongliu almost fell. He waved his hand, and the entire hall was instantly left with only him. Looking at the cold hall, Fu Dongliu seemed to have aged a few decades in an instant. His entire person looked much more haggard. He only had one son. Now that his son was crippled, the Fu family would have no more descendants. To him, this was 100 times worse than death. "I don't care who you are. I will make you pay the price for ruining the Fu family's bloodline." Cloud City, in a rather luxurious restaurant. Aoshue said helplessly, "My good mood was ruined by that scoundrel." "How infuriating." Longao smiled and said, "Why bother with him? After we finish eating, I'll take you around Cloud City. I heard that there are many famous historical sites in Cloud City. You've just killed 2 supremacies and even rewarded the Yun sect's young master. If the Yun sect pursues the matter, wouldn't we be in a lot of trouble?" Although Aoshue knew that the Dragon sect was now the overlord of the 9 states, she knew that the Dragon sect's foundation was not stable yet. It was not a wise move to stir up trouble at this time. And all of this was for her sake. Regarding what Aoshue was thinking in her heart, how could Longao not know? No matter who it is, no one can bully you, not even the Heavenly Emperor. He would kill anyone who stood in his way. Aoshue was touched and did not say anything more. But at this time, the 2 of them finally realized that something was wrong. There was no one else in the restaurant except for the 2 of them. "They're here." Longao nodded. Of course, he knew what was going on. He more or less knew about the number 1 superpower of the Cloud State, the Yun sect. The Dragon sect was now the overlord of the 9 states. In order to strengthen their position, the Cloud State's Yun sect was trying to rope them in. But Longao knew the current situation very well. Not only was it impossible, they might even start a war. Although he was not afraid of the Yun sect, Longao did not want to fight to the death with the Yun sect unless it was a last resort. No matter what, his biggest enemy now was the 4 superpowers, not the Yun sect. "Since you're here, come in. There's no need for this." As soon as Longao finished speaking, Fu Dongliu and 2 old men walked in. The 2 old men were the 2 elders of the Yun sect. They were also great venerables and could be considered the strongest existence in Cloud City. Fu Dongliu was not a fool. Of course, he knew that the other party's strength was not simple. If there was no accident, the other party was very likely a heavenly venerable or even a great venerable. Although he was unwilling to admit it, the fact was in front of him. "Who are you?" "Who I am is not important. What's important is that I want to know what you want." Arrogant. Fu Dongliu never thought that the other party would be so arrogant after seeing him. It was as if he did not put him in his eyes at all. Could it be that the other party was really fearless? Until now, the Yun sect had not investigated Longao's identity. Therefore, Fu Dongliu did not know that the young man in front of him was the famous master of the Dragon sect, Longao. "You are really arrogant." Fu Dongliu and the other 2 came to another table and sat down. They stared at Longao as if they wanted to see just why this person was so arrogant. No matter what, this was Cloud City, the headquarters of the Yun sect. In the 9 provinces, the strength of the Yun sect could definitely be ranked in the top 3. It was because of this that Fu Dongliu was even more confused. Just where did this person come from that he dared to ignore the Yun sect like this? Could he be a disciple of a sect from another province? You crippled my son and killed 2 of my venerables. I want to ask, how will you explain this to me? The calmer Longao appeared, the more Fu Dongliu did not dare to act rashly. This was because at this moment, he still had not figured out the other party's identity. If this person's backer was really powerful, wouldn't he be looking for trouble? Regarding what Fu Dongliu was thinking in his heart, Longao knew clearly. He did not put these 3 people in his eyes because a celestial master and 2 great venerables were almost like ordinary people in front of him. As long as he wanted to, he could kill these 3 people in a matter of minutes. But still, Longao did not want to fight to the death with the Yun sect unless it was a last resort. He did not want to give the 4 major forces a chance to take advantage of this. It's your son who is shameless. You can't blame anyone else. The Yun sect is the #1 force in the Yun province. But you, Fu Dongliu, as the master of the Yun sect, actually connived with your son's outrageous acts. I'm afraid such a sect will only retreat and not advance. Ha ha ha, boy, you actually dare to criticize the Yun sect. What does my Yun sect have to do with you? What is your identity? Don't think that you can act unscrupulously here just because you killed 2 of my venerables. I can tell you that in the eyes of the Yun sect, you are. Waving his hand, Longao did not give Fu Dongliu a chance to finish his words. He said in a mocking tone, originally, I didn't want to fight to the death with the Yun sect. I wanted to give the Yun sect a chance, but your Yun sect is stubborn. Chapter 466. Stubborn. Looking at the young man in front of him, Fu Dongliu felt a trace of fear for some reason. Cursing himself in his heart, Fu Dongliu snorted coldly and said, I want to see how you will make my Cloud sect stubborn. With that, Fu Dongliu took a big stride forward. Before he arrived, his palm had already struck out. However, Longao did not move from beginning to end. Seeing this, Fu Dongliu was furious. In his opinion, Longao did not put him in his eyes at all. As a heavenly venerable, Fu Dongliu was confident that he could kill his opponent with a single palm strike. However, Longao did not move from beginning to end. He picked up the wine cup in his hand and took a sip. No matter who saw this, they would think that Longao did not put his opponent in his eyes. If this was seen by other people in Cloud City, they would not believe it. The Cloud sect was the absolute overlord of Cloud City. Who would dare to do this? Longao was definitely the first. The more Longao acted like this, the more Fu Dongliu feared him. He slowed down and finally came to a stop. Are you not afraid of death? Longao smiled and said indifferently, of course I am, but you can't kill me at all. Why should I be afraid? I have to admit that you are really arrogant. I want to know where your arrogance comes from. This time, Fu Dongliu didn't say any more nonsense, nor was he afraid of anything else, because he knew very well that even if he couldn't defeat the other party, the 2 elders would definitely take action. Could it be that this person was a great venerable? Longao was simply too young. Being able to kill 2 great venerables at such a young age was already unprecedented. Longao still did not move. He sat quietly. Just as Fu Dongliu was about to hit him with both fists, an unparalleled aura suddenly rose from Longao's body. Fu Dongliu was shocked. However, things had already come to this, so he could only brace himself. There was only one result of this. Fu Dongliu screamed as his body was sent flying. If it weren't for the 2 great sovereigns catching him, Fu Dongliu would have suffered a great loss. The reason why Fu Dongliu didn't die was because Longao had shown mercy. Otherwise, based on their strength, Longao could have easily killed Fu Dongliu. But still, Longao didn't want to fight to the death with Cloud Sect unless it was absolutely necessary. I've already said that I've given you a chance. I hope that you will properly grasp it. Otherwise, the Cloud sect will definitely perish. If Longao had said this earlier, Fu Dongliu would definitely not have believed him. However, now that he had been defeated in one move, even if Fu Dongliu did not want to believe it, the truth was right in front of him. Who are you? I've already said it before. Who I am is not important. What's important is that I've already given the Cloud sect a chance. I hope that you'll grasp it well. Otherwise, there's only one outcome for the Cloud sect. Although Longao had finished speaking, the meaning of his words was very clear. You won't be able to leave here today. As Fu Dongliu said this, the two great sovereigns behind him were finally ready to attack. In the 8 realms of nothingness, heavenly sovereigns were great sovereigns, followed by world kings and world emperors. These two great sovereigns were the strongest existences in the Cloud sect. Because of this, Fu Dongliu was confident that even if his opponent was a great sovereign, he would still die in a 1 versus 2 situation. In Fu Dongliu's heart, he didn't think that Longao was a world king or world emperor. The fact that his opponent was a great sovereign had already dealt a heavy blow to Fu Dongliu. After all, his opponent was so young. For such a young great sovereign expert, unless it was a super force or a Long family, there wouldn't be such a peerless character in an ordinary sect. In fact, Fu Dongliu had already guessed that his opponent was likely a disciple of a super force. Otherwise, his strength wouldn't be so strong and he wouldn't be so fearless. Because of this, Fu Dongliu was even more eager to kill Longao. If his guess was correct, then the trouble would be even greater. Stubborn. Kill. Fu Dongliu's killing intent surged. He forcefully endured the injuries in his body and coldly glared at the youth in front of him. He didn't believe that his opponent could fight 1 versus 2 and defeat 2 great sovereigns. If that was the case, he would rather commit suicide than believe it. The 2 great sovereigns didn't put their opponent in their eyes at all. They were almost certain that their opponent was a genuine great sovereign. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to defeat their master in a single move. As everyone knew, the Cloud sect's master was a peak Empyrean. Unless his opponent was a great sovereign, it would be impossible for him to defeat his opponent in a single move, let alone defeat him in a single move. The 2 great sovereigns didn't continue speaking nonsense because they knew that if they couldn't kill their opponent as soon as possible, the Cloud sect would lose all face. But what the 2 great sovereigns didn't expect was that before they could act, Longao had already made his move. According to Longao's original intention, he didn't want to fight to the death with the Cloud sect. According to the Snake Sovereign's plan, he was prepared to take all the forces in the 9 prefectures under the Dragon sect. The Cloud sect was the strongest existence in the Cloud prefecture and was the most important part of the Dragon sect's development. But now, it seemed that the Cloud sect wouldn't let this matter go. Longao never thought that the debauchee disciple he had just killed would be the son of the Cloud sect's master. Now that things had come to this point, there were only 2 solutions. The first solution was to directly slaughter the Cloud sect, but this would have a great impact on the Dragon sect's stability in the 9 prefectures. The second solution was to talk with his fists and beat the Cloud sect until they were completely afraid. Of the 2 solutions, Longao finally chose the last one. Because of this, Longao didn't give the 2 great sovereigns any chance to react or fight back. He ruthlessly smashed his divine dragon arm. Longao controlled his strength very well. He didn't smash the 2 great sovereigns to death. Anyway, he just smashed them. Punch after punch, every punch landed on their flesh. Screams rose one after another. In just a few seconds, the 2 great sovereigns had turned into pig heads again. Looking at the young man who was violently beating the 2 great sovereigns in front of him, Fu Dongliu was completely dumbfounded. He had no idea what was going on. Stop. Completely ignoring Fu Dongliu, Longao continued to smash them. It seemed that he was a little tired. Only then did he stop. He pulled Aoshua's hand and said, "I hope the Cloud sect will behave in the future. Otherwise, I will personally make a trip to the Cloud sect." Looking at the man and woman leaving, Fu Dongliu asked with fear, "Who are you?" "Longao." Longao didn't continue to stay. He pulled Aoshua and quickly left. In a short while, They had disappeared without a trace. Chapter 467. Longao. At first, Fu Dongliu didn't seem to react. As if he had thought of something, Longao's face was filled with shock and disbelief. The two great sovereigns who were beaten up struggled to stand up. When they heard that the other party was Longao, they almost stumbled and fell. Longao, the most famous name in the 9 prefectures. You may not know what the 4 major powers of the 9 prefectures were, but you couldn't not know who Longao was, a legendary figure. Everyone knew about Longao's rise. As the number 1 power of the Cloud Prefecture, whether it was Fu Dongliu or the 2 great sovereigns, of course, they had heard of Longao's deeds. Master. Let's go back. Cloud Sect. Fu Dongliu, who had just returned to the Cloud Sect, didn't dare to delay for a moment. He went straight to the back mountain and found the Cloud Sect's old ancestor, the so-called Fu Che, a world emperor expert. Not to mention the Cloud Sect, even the entire Cloud Prefecture didn't know about Fu Che's existence. He was the Cloud Sect's trump card. I already know what you said just now. Longao is indeed someone our Cloud Sect can't afford to offend. Fu Che was Fu Dongliu's grandfather, and Fu Shaohai was Fu Che's great-grandson. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't angry when his only great-grandson was killed. But would anger work? Grandfather, are we going to let Longao go just like that? Fu Che sighed deeply. As the world emperor and the Cloud Sect's old ancestor, this was the first time he felt powerless. Who was Longao? A person who dared to fight against the 4 major powers and severely injured them. Would he put the Cloud Sect in his eyes? Fortunately, Longao didn't pursue the matter. Otherwise, even if the Cloud Sect was destroyed, no one would stand out and speak a word for the Cloud Sect. Let's end this matter here. We can't afford to offend Longao. Hearing this, Fu Dongliu was in complete despair. Because even the old ancestor had said this, what else could he do? Fu Dongliu naturally knew how terrifying Longao was. Being able to escape from death this time could be considered a blessing in disguise. If it were any other matter, Fu Dongliu could still tolerate it, but this matter was something he absolutely could not accept. After all, his only son had been beaten until he was crippled, and he would not be able to carry on the family line for the rest of his life. How could he tolerate having his family line cut off? Usually, once Fu Che made a decision, Fu Dongliu would definitely not dare to go against it. However, at this moment, Fu Dongliu's expression was resolute as he said, "Grandpa, I cannot tolerate this. No matter what, I will avenge young master." He let out another deep sigh. At this time, the 2 great venerables who had just been beaten up limped over. Seeing this situation, both of them were shocked. Fu Dongliu asked anxiously, "What happened? What happened to you guys?" "Master, Patriarch, we were attacked by Longao just now. We don't know what method he used, but we can't gather our spiritual energy at all." Unable to gather spiritual energy? Hearing this, both of their faces turned ugly. Because both of them knew very well that being unable to gather spiritual energy meant that their cultivation was completely crippled. It was like having their dantian destroyed. Fu Che came in front of the 2, reached out his hand, and quietly sensed. Gradually, Fu Che's face turned uglier and uglier. In the end, it was gloomy to the extreme. "Grandpa, what happened?" "Dragon Force." "Grandpa, what do you mean?" The 2 great venerables and Fu Dongliu did not know what the Patriarch meant by Dragon Force. What was Dragon Force? Rumor has it that Longao is a dragon martial artist. I have never believed it. After all, the Long family has a written rule. Once a disciple of the Long family below rank 3 becomes a dragon martial artist, they will be punished by the Long family. But now, I can say with certainty that Longao is a dragon martial artist. Just now, Longao forced his dragon force into your bodies. Unless it was him, or an even stronger dragon martial artist, otherwise, although Fu Che did not finish his words, the meaning of his words was very clear. Dragon martial artists were the most powerful existences in the world. The 3 of them never thought that Longao would be a dragon martial artist. "Grandpa, It seems that the rank 3 Long family is dealing with Longao because Longao is a dragon martial artist. In that case, why didn't the Long family come forward? The three of them knew very well that the Long family was the top existence in the continent. As long as the Long family came forward, it would be a matter of minutes to destroy the dragon sect and Longao. I don't know. Under normal circumstances, if the rank 3 Long family couldn't settle this matter, then the Long family would definitely step in. But now, Grandpa, what does Longao mean by doing this? Killing the chicken to warn the monkey. What does this mean? The three of them were a little curious. They didn't know what Longao meant. Because with Longao's super strong strength, if he wanted to kill them, it would be a simple matter. Why did he have to do this? Longao's intention is very simple. He wants to intimidate our Cloud sect. Previously, the Dragon sect had already started to make arrangements to stabilize the Dragon sect's position in the 9 states. As the number 1 force in the Cloud state, our Cloud sect would naturally be the Dragon sect's first choice. I understand. So Longao wants to kill the chicken to warn the monkey. He wants to tell our Cloud sect that the strength of the Dragon sect is not something that the Cloud sect can contend against. He wants us to submit obediently. That's right. I have to admit that Longao is indeed a character. If he continues to develop, not to mention the 9 states, even the 4 major forces may not be able to contend with Longao. Hearing the old ancestor's words, Fu Dongliu and the other 2 bitterly smiled. According to the rumors, Longao is a world emperor. But for some reason, he can kill a half-step saint. According to my calculations, the Dragon sect must have a half-step saint. So, to kill Longao, it's impossible for me to do it alone. Moreover, Longao is a dragon martial artist. Fu Dongliu, who originally wanted to take revenge, completely gave up after hearing this. After all, Longao's strength was there for all to see, and he was also a dragon martial artist. Not to mention him, even the old ancestor would not be able to defeat Longao. Longao has gone too far. I originally did not want to find trouble with him. After all, the Dragon sect's strength is there for all to see. But now, it seems that if we don't kill him, I believe that Longao will continue to suppress us. Our Cloud sect has not even submitted to the 4 major forces for so many years, let alone a newly risen Dragon sect. Fu Dongliu, who was already in despair, immediately became happy when he heard his grandfather's words. He said, "Grandfather, what should we do? I just said that with our strength alone, it's impossible to contend against Longao. We can only ask the old ancestor for help. Now, follow me." Chapter 468. Old Ancestor. Hearing that their grandfather wanted to invite the old ancestor, the 3 of them were shocked. Because the true old ancestor of Cloud sect had not appeared for countless years. Because of this, the 3 of them did not expect that their grandfather would ask the old ancestor for help. The 3 of them did not dare to speak as they followed Fu Che to the back of the mountain. The silent back of the mountain was especially eerie and terrifying. Disciple Fu Che invites the old ancestor to appear. A dignified and eerie voice sounded. "Fu Che, didn't I tell you not to disturb my cultivation?" Hearing the other party's words, Fu Che was shocked and immediately said, "Old ancestor, a dragon martial artist has just appeared. He is a world emperor martial artist and wants to destroy our Cloud sect." In desperation, Disciple can only ask for the old ancestor's help. Dragon martial artist? As soon as the voice fell, a pure black 1-meter demon wolf suddenly appeared. Seeing the demon wolf, the 4 of them knelt down at the same time. Fu Che represented the 3 of them and said, "Disciple Fu Che greets the old ancestor. Alright, cut the crap. Tell me, is this person really a dragon martial artist and is only a world emperor martial artist?" Fu Che nodded. Towards this old ancestor, Fu Che was extremely afraid. The howling moon demon wolf was the true old ancestor of Cloud sect. It was the sacred beast of Cloud sect and its cultivation was at the peak of the half-saint realm. It was only 1 step away from becoming a saint. Ha ha ha, good, good. If I can get the dragon blood, I can break through the last step at any time. I have waited for so many years and it has finally come. Ha ha ha. Hearing the old ancestors' words, the four of them were overjoyed. With the old ancestors' help, the four of them were confident that Longao would die without a doubt. After all, the old ancestor was a sacred beast. It would be easy for him to kill a world emperor martial artist. Fu Che, take me with you. Remember, don't spread the news about Longao. Understood, old ancestor. Fu Che nodded. Of course, he understood the old ancestor's meaning. No matter what, Longao was still a member of the Long family. If the Long family didn't come out to deal with Longao, no one knew what the Long family was thinking. It was better to be safe than sorry. What if the old ancestor killed Longao? Once the Long family pursued the matter, not to mention one cloud sect, even 100 cloud sects would not be a match for the Long family. Cloud City. After violently beating up the two great seniors and Fu Dongliu, Longao acted as if nothing had happened. He continued to take Aoshue shopping, eating, and drinking. When they were tired, they would find an inn and make love. Hey! It's already been 3 days. The Cloud sect still hasn't made a move. Could it be that they plan to just let it pass? It shouldn't be possible. I crippled Fu Shaohai's family jewels and caused the Fu family to have no descendants. I believe that Fu Dongliu will not let this matter rest. According to my calculations, Fu Dongliu will definitely come for revenge in the next few days. In the entire Cloud sect, there is no one who is your match. You clearly know that you are seeking your own death, so why did you still come? I really don't understand. Let alone Aoshue, even Longao couldn't understand. After all, he had already violently beaten up two great seniors. As long as one wasn't a fool, they could guess that his cultivation had already surpassed a great senior. If he wasn't a world king, then he was a world emperor. Cloud sect. Longao had already decided that when he returned to the sect this time, he would definitely ask the Snake Emperor to speed up the stabilization of the 9 regions. This was because he realized that the 9 regions was simply too chaotic. No one knew what would happen in 3 years. Along the way, Longao discovered a problem. That was that no matter which sect or family in the 9 province it was, they didn't have the slightest sense of belonging to the dragon sect. To put it bluntly, none of the sects or families were willing to accept the dragon sect as the overlord of the 9 province. If it weren't for them being afraid of the dragon sect, he believed that these so-called sects and families would have already stood up against the dragon sect. It was precisely because of this that Longao decided to end the battle quickly. Because in another 11 months, it would be the time for a life-and-death battle with the Ethereal Palace. At that time, if they couldn't even handle Jojo, things would be really troublesome. What are you planning to do? I'll stay in Cloud City for a few more days. Since I'm here, I'll deal with the Cloud sect before leaving. Otherwise, the Cloud sect will definitely become a big problem for the sect in the future. Before, Longao had used the Divine Dragon Arm because he wanted to make an example out of them. After all, they were just 2 little great seniors. With his current strength, he could easily kill them with just his strength alone. Longao's intention was actually very simple. He wanted to intimidate the Cloud sect so that they would retreat and obediently submit to the sect. This would save Snake Sovereign a lot of trouble. Longao, who was eating, raised his head when he heard someone calling him. Looking at the 2 people who suddenly appeared in front of him, he smiled. He had already guessed that what would come in the end. Longao had already guessed that the Cloud sect and Fu Dongliu wouldn't let this matter go since he had crippled Fu Shaohai's family jewels. At the same time, he also guessed that the strongest person in the Cloud sect wasn't the so-called great seniors. Now, it seemed that he was right. The World Emperor. The strongest person in the Cloud sect was actually the World Emperor. Longao, you crippled my son and killed 2 of my honorable protectors. Furthermore, you restricted the cultivation bases of 2 of my elders. All of these were started by you. Now that my Cloud sect's old ancestor, Fu Che, is here, let me give you a word of advice. It's best that you surrender, lest you suffer a fate worse than death. At this moment, Fu Dongliu didn't have the slightest fear because with his grandfather and the old ancestor personally taking action, even if Longao had 3 heads and 6 arms, he wouldn't be able to leave Cloud City alive. Still stubborn. You're Longao? You're the old ancestor of the Cloud Sect, Fu Che? That's right. Longao, the Cloud Sect and the Dragon Sect have always minded their own business. Why are you forcing us? Do you really think that the Cloud Sect can be bullied by others? Hearing Fu Che's words, Longao laughed. Shameless. He had seen shameless people before, but none as shameless as this. Fu Che and the Cloud Sect were shameless to the extreme. No matter if it was Fu Che or Fu Dongliu, they didn't mention who their son was and directly questioned him. They made it seem like he was the one in the wrong first. I don't want to talk nonsense. You guys should know better than me what kind of person Fu Shaohai is. He dared to provoke my wife. I'm already giving the Cloud Sect face by not killing him. I thought that the Cloud Sect would know their mistake and wouldn't continue to be stubborn. But now, it seems that I was wrong. I have to use force to deal with people like you. Longao didn't have the patience to waste time with the other party. He was ready to use his fist to do the talking and smash the other party into submission. Otherwise, if the Cloud Sect continued to be stubborn, there was only one last method left, and that was to annihilate the Cloud Sect. Longao didn't want to create any trouble for himself and the Cloud Sect. After all, with the Cloud Sect standing out, it would be harder for the Cloud Sect to continue stabilizing their position as the overlord of the 9 continents. Chapter 469. Boasting shamelessly. Fu Dongliu scolded in his heart. This time around, the old ancestor and grandfather were personally involved. If the other party could leave the Cloud City alive, the Cloud Sect could just commit mass suicide. This was confidence that originated from the strength of the old ancestor and grandfather. Longao, you don't have to be arrogant. Don't think that the Dragon Sect is invincible. I can tell you that the Cloud Sect will not compromise. The Cloud Sect is stubborn. Seems like the Cloud Sect will not compromise obediently without using force. Longao was not surprised at all. No matter what, the Cloud Sect was the #1 force in the Cloud region. They would definitely not be willing to submit to the Dragon Sect. It would be weird if the Cloud Sect chose to compromise. However, Longao knew that the Cloud Sect had to be subdued if the Dragon Sect wanted to stabilize their position as the overlord of the 9 region. None of the 9 region could be left out. Longao, cut the crap. If you have the guts, let's have a fair fight. If you win, my Cloud Sect will willingly submit to you. If you lose, then Dragon Sect will have to listen to Cloud Sect from now on. How about it? Hearing Fu Dongliu's words, Longao was surprised. He did not know where Fu Dongliu's confidence came from. However, since things had come to this, Longao would not back down. Looking coldly at Fu Dongliu, Longao smiled and said, I'm willing to accompany you. All right, follow me. Patting Aoshua's hand, Longao whispered, wait for me here. I'll be back soon. I want to go with you. Aoshua's face was filled with worry. Although she was very confident in her lover, no matter what, the other party was still the Cloud Sect, the #1 force in the Cloud region. Who knew if the Cloud Sect would play any tricks? Aoshua, trust me. I will return safely. If you come with me, I will have to take care of you. Looking deeply at her lover in front of her, Aoshua finally nodded and said worriedly, be careful. Understood. Before Longao left, he released the 2 World Emperor Spirit Beast corpse slaves. With the corpse slaves protecting them, he believed that no one in Cloud City would be able to harm Aoshua. Longao followed Fu Dongliu all the way and soon left Cloud City. At the foot of a very isolated mountain. Longao, master of the Dragon Sect, I admire your courage and strength. If you had not provoked my Cloud Sect. Who are you? Without giving Fu Che the chance to finish, Longao interrupted him. However, Longao had already guessed that the World Emperor in front of him should be a helper that Fu Dongliu had found. World Emperors were existences at the pinnacle of the Void Realm. No wonder the Cloud Sect was the #1 power in the Cloud region. Fu Che. Fu Dongliu has made it very clear. If I lose, the Dragon Sect will submit to the Dragon Sect. If I win, the Cloud Sect will submit to the Dragon Sect from now on. They can't be disloyal. Otherwise, I will slaughter the Cloud Sect. If it was someone else who said this, Fu Che and Fu Dongliu would definitely scoff and not care about it. However, the person who said this was the master of the Dragon Sect, Longao, a god of death who had slaughtered the Bloodsea Sect. If Longao wanted to, he could slaughter the Cloud Sect at any time. No matter what, the Dragon Sect's current strength was not something that the Cloud Sect could contend against. Would a super madman who dared to fight against the four major powers put the Cloud Sect in his eyes? Longao, you've gone too far. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. I've chased the four major powers out of the 9 region. Can't I dominate the 9 region? I'll still say the same thing. My Cloud Sect will not submit to the Dragon Sect. As long as the Dragon Sect doesn't cause trouble for us, this grudge will be written off. How about it? Longao did not speak, but his expression showed his attitude. Looking at the situation, both Fu Che and Fu Dongliu knew that this battle was unavoidable. Since that was the case, they had to fight. Fu Che did not continue to speak. He stared at Longao. Suddenly, Fu Che made a move. However, he left quickly and came back even faster. His face was filled with fear. You're not my match. If I want to kill you, I only need one move. Longao was very confident. Based on his current strength, killing Fu Che in an instant would not take much effort. After all, he was invincible under the illusionary divine stage. I believe that there are even stronger existences in the Cloud Sect. Come out together. Longao was not a fool. Of course, he knew that the Cloud Sect would know about his strength after knowing his identity. Since he could kill a world emperor in an instant, why would Fu Che come to his death? Longao's display of strength shocked Fu Che. Although he had received information about Longao that he was a world emperor and could kill a world emperor in an instant, Fu Che did not believe it. After all, rumors could not be completely trusted. But the result? Ien, you're indeed a dragon martial artist. Just this strength alone is enough to disdain the illusionary divine stage. Longao, I really want to know why such an outstanding disciple like you did not stay in the Long family. Instead, you came here to die. Looking at the demonic dragon that was slowly walking over, Longao's heart thumped. As expected, the Cloud Sect had a half-sage expert. However, what Longao did not expect was that the half-sage expert of the Cloud Sect was not a martial artist, but a holy beast, Howling Moon Demon Wolf. Longao had some understanding of the Howling Moon Demon Wolf. Amongst the holy beasts, the Howling Moon Demon Wolf was one of the stronger holy beasts. Especially at night, its strength would double. This was the first time Longao had encountered a Howling Moon Demon Wolf. Furthermore, it was a holy beast. Thus, he was somewhat fearful. However, Longao did not have the slightest intention of backing down. This was because he clearly knew that if he wanted the Cloud Sect to completely submit to him, he had to subdue this Howling Moon Demon Wolf. Otherwise, this matter would be very troublesome. I am not a disciple of the Long family. I am the master of the Dragon Sect. Longao's words were very clear. In his heart, he had never admitted that he was a disciple of the Long family. The Dragon Sect was an independent existence. It had nothing to do with the Long family. The Howling Moon Demon Wolf seemed to be a little surprised. He said with even more admiration, "The Long family is strong. We don't need to talk about it. I like your character. Longao, I can give you a chance. As long as you hand over your dragon companion, I will let you go. How about it? With just you." Ha ha ha, if I didn't see it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have imagined that there would be such an arrogant person in this world. Longao, don't think that you can disregard a half-sage expert just because you can kill a world emperor expert. I will let you know how big the gap between a world emperor and a half-sage expert is. Longao was very afraid because he knew that a half-sage expert of the same level would not be a match for the Howling Moon Demon Wolf. Chapter 470. Longao, I'll give you a chance to summon your companion. I really want to see if a dragon warrior is as powerful as the legends say. Regarding the howling moon devil wolf's meaning, Longao naturally understood it clearly. It wanted nothing more than to seize Long Chong's blood and soul to break through to the saint realm. Facing a top saint beast, Longao didn't dare to be careless because he knew that it was hard to say whether he would live or die in this battle. Are you afraid? With a sneer, Longao said indifferently, I, Longao, have never known the meaning of fear. Howling moon demon wolf, I'll use your blood to tell the world that no one dares to disobey my dragon sect. Ha ha ha, what an arrogant boy. You're simply courting death. As soon as he finished speaking, the howling moon demon wolf's body had already rushed out, and a terrifying Saint Chi pressed down. This was the power of a saint beast. As Longao turned around, his right arm had already smashed out. At this time, a dragon's roar rang out, and a giant black dragon appeared in midair. Seeing the giant black dragon, the howling moon demon wolf didn't show the slightest fear. Instead, he was extremely excited. If they were at the same level, the howling moon demon wolf would definitely not be Long Chong's opponent. But the problem now was that Long Chong was only in the World Emperor realm, while the howling moon demon wolf was a genuine saint beast. The two couldn't be mentioned in the same breath. It was precisely because of this that the howling moon demon wolf was somewhat impatient to kill Longao and seize the black dragon's soul and blood. In this way, he could directly advance to become a saint from the half-saint realm, which he had been unable to break through for a long time. In the blink of an eye, the howling moon demon wolf and Long Chong had already engaged in a fierce battle. It had to be said that the dragon race was the most powerful existence in the world. Even if Longao's realm wasn't as good as the howling moon demon wolf, it would still be difficult for the howling moon demon wolf to defeat Long Chong in a short time. Under Longao's continuous attacks, he could be considered to be furious. He had originally wanted to give the Cloud sect a chance. However, the Cloud sect did not refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Since that was the case, why should he continue to dawdle? Longao did not join hands with Long Chong to deal with the so-called howling moon demon wolf. Instead, he shot towards Fu Che and Fu Dongliu. Killing intent surged as they swarmed over. Both Fu Che and Fu Dongliu were shocked. Neither of them had expected that Longao would turn around and chase after the two of them. Fu Che had already been defeated in a single move, so how could he dare to continue fighting? Moreover, the old ancestor was currently too busy to deal with him. If the two of them were killed, who would they seek justice from? Not daring to hesitate, the two of them turned around and prepared to leave. However, at this moment, the two of them were horrified to discover that their bodies had been frozen. Moreover, the flow of time around them had begun to reverse. Their speed had slowed down while Longao's speed had increased relatively. It was obvious what would happen if they went back and forth. Innate divine ability, Dragon's Roar. Longao was very clear in his heart that he could not give the howling moon demon wolf any chance to save them. He was prepared to end the battle quickly, so he directly used the so-called innate divine ability, Dragon's Roar. With their bodies locked, Fu Che and Fu Dongliu were completely frightened. They looked around in shock, not knowing what had happened. Stubborn. I have already given you a chance. It is you who did not cherish it. Xiao must blame me. Without giving the two of them any chance to speak, Longao's bloodthirsty broadsword had already fiercely chopped down. The broadsword light was like lightning, streaking through the air. The surrounding space began to tremble, and then traces of black air currents appeared. I am not willing. Just as they finished speaking, Fu Che and Fu Dongliu were already swallowed by the black air currents. Longao did not hesitate to dodge after killing the two of them. He then turned around and attacked the howling moon demon wolf. Longao was very clear in his heart that if he did not kill Fu Dongliu and Fu Che, it would not be easy for the sect to stabilize its position as the overlord of the 9 regions in the future. Rather than bringing trouble in the future, it was better to directly erase the two of them now. Even if Fu Dongliu and Fu Che died, the strength of the Cloud sect did not decline in the slightest. The howling moon demon wolf was very powerful. Even if Longao and Longchong joined hands, they would not be able to defeat the howling moon demon wolf. The dragon's roar continued to resound between heaven and earth. Longao knew that the longer the battle dragged on, the worse it would be for him and Longchong. Therefore, he had to end the battle quickly. After all, the difference between their realm and the howling moon demon wolf was very big. It was not something that could be made up for by other things. In the end, Longao had no choice but to use his innate divine ability, Dragon Roar. However, the howling moonfiend wolf's strength was truly very strong. In less than 2 seconds, the howling moonfiend wolf had already broken through the lock. As the dragon's roar resounded, Longao slashed out with his blood-sucking blade. Blood-sucking devours the heavens tore through the space, causing the surroundings to tremble once again. Traces of cracks appeared in the space as the terrifying spatial cracks frantically tried to devour the howling moon demon wolf. As long as the howling moon demon wolf was devoured, even if it had 3 heads and 6 arms, it would not be able to block the spatial cracks. However, the howling moon demon wolf was very fast. In the blink of an eye, it had dodged. The spatial cracks simply could not devour the howling moon demon wolf. His heart thumped. Even his innate ability and blood-sucking blade were unable to kill the howling moon demon wolf. It seemed that it would be very difficult for him to succeed. Longao, you dared to kill Fu Che. Today, I will tear your corpse into 10,000 pieces. You will never be able to reincarnate. Ignoring the howling moon demon wolf's threat, Longao slashed out with his blade. Immediately after, Longchong stood up, turned around, and dashed away. As a sacred beast, the howling moon demon wolf's speed was not inferior to Longchong's. Because of this, Longao sent Longchong into the dragon seal space and disappeared into the forest. In the blink of an eye, he had disappeared without a trace. The howling moon demon wolf sneered. It did not intend to give up. It had encountered a black dragon with great difficulty. If it gave up just like this, it would not even have the chance to regret. 3 hours later, the Cloud City was completely shaken, because the news of Fu Che and Fu Donglio's deaths had already reached the Cloud City. Anyone who received the news was shocked, because what Fu Che and Fu Dongliu represented was something that everyone knew very well. The master of the Cloud Sect and the old ancestor of the Cloud Sect had been openly killed in the Cloud City. No one believed this until the Cloud Sect sent out the news. Only then was the news confirmed. In this way, the Cloud City and the Cloud Sect were in complete chaos. Everyone was in danger. No one knew what would happen next. At this moment, everyone was discussing the Cloud Sect's master's death. As the number 1 force in the Cloud region, unless it was the 4 major forces, no one would dare to provoke the Cloud Sect. They were simply courting death. I can't imagine that someone would dare to kill the Cloud Sect's master and old ancestor. I'm guessing that the other party must be from the 4 major forces. Wrong. I've received news that the one who dealt with the Cloud Sect is the Dragon Sect's master, Longao. Chapter 471. Longao. Everyone was shocked when they heard that it was Longao who was looking for trouble with the Cloud Sect. No one was unfamiliar with Longao. He was a legendary young man who had dealt a heavy blow to the 4 major forces. He was a super genius who had left his Long family and established the Dragon Sect. Everyone thought that it was the 4 major forces. When they heard that the other party was the master of the Dragon Sect, Longao, they sighed in their hearts. The Cloud Sect was finished. No one could figure out why the Cloud Sect would provoke Longao. Provoking a super killer who dared to fight against the 4 major forces was simply courting death. One could survive a heavenly disaster, but one could not survive a self-inflicted disaster. No one sympathized with the Cloud Sect. That was because everyone knew that in this world where people ate people and martial arts reigned supreme, there was only one principle. That was, the winner was the king and the loser was the bandit. After Longao killed the 2 honorables of the Cloud Sect, he had sent word back to the sect. According to the Snake Emperor, he would have to wait for at least 1 or 2 years before he could deal with the sects and families in the 9 states. But the situation was different now. In order to not cause trouble in the future, Longao was prepared to suppress the Cloud sect directly. Because of this, the Snake Emperor led the corpse slave army of the Dragon sect to attack the Cloud sect. If they were to spread out, the Dragon sect might not be able to take down the Cloud sect in a short time. But if the Dragon sect were to attack the Cloud sect with all their might, the result would be obvious. The corpse slave army of the Dragon sect entered the Cloud City and attacked the Cloud sect. In just one day, they had completely occupied the Cloud sect. No one was surprised by the actions of the Dragon sect. The Cloud sect had provoked the master of the Dragon sect, Longao. It would be strange if the Dragon sect did not destroy the Cloud sect. The Snake Emperor led the corpse slave army to occupy the Cloud sect but did not disturb the order of the Cloud City. He even informed the Cloud City that everything would go on as usual. The only difference was that the master of the Cloud City would no longer be the Cloud sect but the Dragon sect. The strong were revered and strength was everything. The people of the Cloud City did not care who was the overlord as long as they could live a better life. Based on this situation, the Cloud City hoped that the Dragon sect would become the overlord of the Cloud City and not the Cloud sect. After all, the difference in strength between the Dragon sect and the Cloud sect was huge. In a forest not far from Cloud City, Longao hid in a cave and sat quietly. For an entire 3 days, he and the Moonhowl demonic wolf had been playing hide-and-seek, causing the Moonhowl demonic wolf to be incomparably furious, yet unable to do anything. Strength. Longao was depressed to the extreme because what he needed the most at this time was strength. Once his cultivation base broke through from the Void World Emperor to the Semisaint realm, he would not need Long Chong's help. He would be able to easily kill the Howling Moon demonic wolf by himself. However, he was unable to take the final step. With his current strength, he was still not a match for the Howling Moon demon wolf. He had no choice but to admit that the Howling Moon demon wolf was not only powerful, but also extremely calm. If it had been any other half-saint, he would have been able to take advantage of the situation and kill the half-saint once they let their guard down. However, facing the Howling Moon wolf, Longao did not even have the slightest chance. How should he deal with the Howling Moon demon wolf? Longao, I know you're nearby. Hehehe, don't worry. I'll see how long you can last. Later, I'll invite some friends over to take care of you. I hope you won't disappoint me, hehe. Hearing the Howling Moon demon wolf's voice, Longao hid his presence and did not go out. You'll be anxious to death. Kai kai, kai kai, kai kai, kai kai. At this time, Longao heard a strange sound coming from outside the cave. Curious, he stood up. Before he could walk out of the cave to see what was going on, a shocking scene appeared in front of him. Longao felt his hair stand on end. Thousands upon thousands of fist-sized dark red ants swarmed over from all directions. At a glance, it was impossible to see the end of them because there were simply too many dark red ants. Hehe, Longao, I've already invited the Ant Queen to take care of you. I hope you can survive. Ant Queen. With the sudden appearance of tens of thousands of ants in front of him, Longao naturally knew what it meant. Man-eating ants, individually, were not very strong. They had not even reached the Xiantian realm. However, man-eating ants were spirit beasts that lived in groups. Not to mention, Longao was shocked to find that the man-eating ants in front of him were all at the One-Line Sky realm. With tens of thousands of One-Line Sky warriors swarming in, the result was obvious. Until now, Longao still could not figure out how the Howling Moon demon wolf had done it. He did not dare to be careless. If it was an individual battle, Longao would not have put the man-eating ants in his eyes. However, the current situation was completely different. Longao was very clear in his heart that even if he could eliminate all the man-eating ants here, he believed that he would die of exhaustion. The only entrance to the cave was blocked. Wanting to leave was already impossible. Thus, there was only one way left, and that was to meet force with force. The wild draw saber appeared in his hand. Without the slightest hesitation, he ruthlessly chopped out. A shocking saber light turned into endless flames, firmly blocking the entrance. The man-eating ants had received the Ant Queen's order. No matter what happened, even if they knew that continuing to attack would only lead to their own destruction, they still resolutely threw themselves into despair like moths to a flame, as if they were not afraid of death. Seeing this situation, Longao's complexion became even more unsightly. He did not dare to relax in the slightest. Longao knew that once he let all the man-eating ants in, the consequences would be unimaginable. The flame shield firmly blocked the entrance. This was not the way to go. After all, there were too many man-eating ants, and they were not afraid of death. If this continued, the entrance would be breached sooner or later. What should he do? Longao's mind was constantly thinking of various methods. Suddenly, a spirit beast flashed in Longao's mind. It was also the nemesis of man-eating ants. It was called the anteater. It was said that man-eating ants and anteater were natural enemies. Once they met, it was either you die or I die. If he could find the anteater, then this problem would be solved. It was as difficult as ascending to the sky to summon the anteater alone, but now, the problem was not so difficult. Longao smiled. Such a good bait, if he didn't make good use of it, he would be sorry for himself. Longao frantically blocked the entrance while catching hundreds of man-eating ants and killing them one by one. Then, he split the bodies of all the man-eating ants in two. Blood instantly dyed the entire cave. Longao's method was very simple, that was to use the blood of the man-eating ants to lure the anteater over. The anteater was the natural enemy of the man-eating ants. Once it smelled or sensed the aura of the man-eating ants, it would come immediately. It wouldn't even wait for a minute. Chapter 472. Because of this, Longao was ready to try and see if the rumors were true. Time passed by slowly. After an unknown amount of time, when Longao could no longer hold on, a strange sound suddenly came from all directions. Before Longao could figure out what was going on, a huge anteater suddenly crawled out from the ground. Each anteater was half the height of a person, and its entire body was covered with a thick layer of fur. Endless anteaters appeared. They did not care about Longao at all and directly charged towards the entrance. In the chaos, Longao took the opportunity to leave the cave. In his heart, he was pleasantly surprised to the extreme because Longao had never thought that he would actually succeed just because he wanted to try. After successfully attracting the anteaters, Longao heaved a sigh of relief. As the natural enemy of the man-eating ants, they were simply courting death when they encountered the anteaters. Longao, you're courting death. Seeing the sudden appearance of the howling moon demon wolf and the ant emperor, Longao cursed and then slashed with his blade. The howling moon demon wolf dodged, but what about the ant emperor? The ant emperor was only a world emperor and could not be compared to the howling moon demon wolf. Moreover, in the ant emperor's opinion, with the howling moon demon wolf by its side, the human in front of it would not dare to take the initiative to attack. But the ant emperor was wrong. If it encountered other people, perhaps it would not attack, but it encountered Longao, a god of death who feared neither heaven nor earth. This slash contained the strength of Longao's entire body and merged with the aura of heaven and earth. This slash could be said to be Longao's strongest move. Not to mention a world emperor, even a half-step saint would die if they were hit. Careless, the ant emperor was directly swallowed by the blade light and cut into two. Startled, the howling moon demon wolf never thought that the opponent's slash would be so terrifying. It did not dare to be as arrogant as before, but it did not give up the chase. Step by step, it advanced and closed in. In the howling moon demon wolf's opinion, no matter how strong Longao was, a world emperor was still a world emperor. Perhaps he could kill the ant emperor in one slash, but he was definitely not his opponent. Regarding this, the howling moon demon wolf was extremely confident. Longao, dragon your grandpa. Taking advantage of the momentum, Longao sent out a slash, then quickly turned around and left. Before the howling moon demon wolf could react, Longao's figure had already disappeared without a trace. Longao, I'm going to tear you to shreds. The howling moon demon wolf let out a terrifying howl. It ignored the battle between the man-eating ants and the anteater horde and directly charged in the direction Longao had disappeared. within an elegant cave somewhere in the martial heaven continent. Senior sister, I'm back. As soon as they entered the cave, Tong Linga immediately hugged Yu Yin, who was in the middle of cultivating. She appeared particularly affectionate, as if they were biological sisters instead of fellow disciples. With a doting smile, Yu Yin caressed Tong Linga's hair and asked impatiently, "Have you seen him?" Tong Linga naturally knew who her senior sister was talking about. She gently nodded. "I saw him. Senior sister, he's not bad. Of all the men I've seen, he's the best." She seemed a bit surprised. Yu Yin had never imagined that this junior sister who normally looked down on men would have such an evaluation of Longao. Could it be that her junior sister had already fallen in love with Longao? Yu Yin still didn't believe it. Everyone in the sect knew that her junior sister hated men the most. She didn't place any men in her eyes. Since that was the case, how could she have fallen in love with Longao? It seemed she had been overthinking things. "Linga, tell me more about him." Nodding, Tong Linga told her everything that had happened in the Tianju province. The only thing she didn't mention was that Longao had fought the Ghost King sect alone for Aoshue. The reason why Tong Linga didn't mention this was because she didn't want her senior sister to be sad. "Senior sister, before I came back, Master already told me that in a while, there will be a martial arts competition for you. At that time, all the super disciples of the various sects will compete." Waving her hand, Yu Yin didn't wait for Tong Linga to finish speaking. "No matter who it is, no matter what happens, I won't like anyone else. In my heart, there's only Longao. If he doesn't abandon me, I'll be by his side in life and death. If he doesn't abandon me, I'll be by his side in life and death." Hearing this, Tong Linga's body suddenly trembled. When would she be able to meet such a love? "Senior sister, it's not like you don't know the sect and master's temper. Unless Longao can become a top existence in the Long family and be heavily nurtured by the Long family, the sect won't allow you to be with Longao." How could Yu Yin not know what Tong Linga was talking about? "I believe in Longao's talent and potential. I believe that before long, he'll definitely stand at the top of the Long family. Senior sister, I know you like Longao very much. At the same time, I also admit that Longao's talent and potential are very great. However, it's almost impossible for him to become the focus of the Long family in a short period of time. Unless he can enter the top 30 of the dragon rankings, he doesn't have the right to be the one to pursue you." The dragon rankings was the ranking with the greatest value in the Long family. Yu Yin obviously knew what Tong Linga meant, but no matter what, she still firmly believed that Longao could stand at the top of the Long family. As for the others, Yu Yin wasn't worried at all. At worst, she could threaten them with her life. She believed that with her talent and potential, the sect would definitely choose to compromise. "Senior sister, can you tell me more about the two of you?" Nodding, Yu Yin seemed to have recalled something. Her face was filled with happiness, and she began to slowly tell the story. That year, in Scarlet Fire Town, she and Longao were engaged, and Longao was recognized as the #1 genius in Scarlet Fire Town. That year, Longao failed to condense his inner strength, and he fell from a genius to a piece of trash. When Longao chose not to give up, Yu Yin also told herself that no matter when, no one was allowed to hurt her lover. It was also that year that Yu Yin chose to cultivate a very strange cultivation method. Not only did her appearance become ugly, but her body also became fat. However, Yu Yin didn't care about any of this. Longao persevered for 10 years, and Yu Yin also persevered for 10 years. Only the two of them understood this friendship. They worked hard and engraved it in their hearts, and they went through life and death together. It was also because of this feeling, and because of this 10 years of perseverance, that the two of them had a love of life and death. If he didn't leave or abandon her, she would stay with him in life and death. What kind of feeling was this? Let's ask, if this feeling was with another woman, would that other woman be able to do it? There were very few people who could do it. This was the unique Yu Yin, and her 10 years of perseverance. Chapter 473. After hearing this, Tong Ling-er's face was filled with yearning. Senior sister, I really envy you. 10 years of persistence. If it was me, I definitely wouldn't be able to do it. What are you envying me for? I believe that it won't be long before you find your ideal husband. Tong Ling-er smiled bitterly. How could it be so easy to find her ideal husband? She didn't know why, but when she thought of Longao, her heart skipped a beat. Because of this, Tong Ling-er was shocked and wondered what was wrong with her. Could it be that she really liked Longao? She was shocked. No, how could she like her senior sister's lover? She definitely couldn't do such a shameless thing. Senior sister, I just came back and felt that your aura has improved. Could it be that your cultivation has already broken through? You can say that, but it's still far from Master's expectations. Hearing this, Tong Ling-er's face was filled with helplessness and depression. Her senior sister's talent was the strongest she had ever seen. In just a few months, her achievements were so high. If she didn't see it with her own eyes, she wouldn't believe that there was such a talented person in this world. Senior sister, Master has high expectations for you. I believe that you can break through to the divine path in less than 3 years. Divine path. Hearing the words divine path, Yu Yin wasn't as happy as she imagined. Because in her opinion, if she had to choose between divine path and Longao, she would choose Longao without a doubt and not the so-called divine path. In the eyes of outsiders, the divine path was also a realm that they yearned to reach even in their dreams. However, Yu Yin's wish was actually very simple. There was only one, and that was to live a peaceful life with the person she loved. Cloud City. The Snake Emperor led the Corpse Demon army to occupy the Cloud sect and turned it into a branch of the Dragon sect. The Snake Emperor directly took over. This was also one of the first branches of the Dragon sect since its establishment. On the other side, Longao and the Howling Moon Demonic Wolf were still playing the game of chase, but from beginning to end, the Howling Moon Demonic Wolf was depressed to the extreme. With his strength, he was actually unable to catch up to Longao. If this matter were to spread out, he would definitely be laughed at. The Void World Emperor and a half-step Saint martial artist were two very different existences and could not be mentioned in the same breath. If it was an ordinary World Emperor, he would have been killed by the Howling Moon Demon Wolf long ago, but Longao's situation was completely different. Longao, if you have the ability, then stop and fight me. What kind of hero are you if you keep dodging? Longao completely ignored the Howling Moon Demon Wolf. He was not an idiot. As the saying went, where there is life, there is hope. After all, he could not be compared to the Howling Moon Demon Wolf. If he chose to fight it head-on, he would be the one to suffer in the end. Howling Moon Demon Wolf, you are too impudent. At this moment, a dignified voice suddenly sounded. Looking at the young man who suddenly appeared in front of him, the Howling Moon Demon Wolf, who was extremely arrogant just a moment ago, trembled in fear and fell to the ground. He said in horror, 10,000 beast token, I, catcher. Without waiting for the Howling Moon Demon Wolf to finish speaking, the young man had already made his move and killed him. Seeing this situation, Longao was not surprised at all, because with Shapotion's strength, killing the Howling Moon Demon Wolf was almost an easy matter. Longao could completely guess that Shapotion's strength had reached the so-called Great Emperor realm at the very least. How could it not be easy for a Great Emperor martial artist to kill a Saint Beast? It was just that what Longao never thought was that Shapotion would suddenly appear. Many thanks. Waving his hand, Shapotion said with a smile, I just happened to pass by. Longao, although the Howling Moon Demon Wolf is powerful, it should be nothing to you. Helplessly shrugging, Longao did not hide anything and said, it is difficult to make up for the difference in cultivation level. If we were at the same cultivation level, I would not have dodged. Nodding, Shapotion said, Longao, your growth has surprised me. It seems that it won't be long before you can join hands with me. Until now, Longao still did not know Shapotion's identity. If it was before, he would definitely not ask, but now, Longao said, although I don't know why you chose me, the result is that since you chose me, you must tell me your identity. I don't want to know more, I just want to know who you are. Longao had already decided that if Shapotian did not tell him his identity, he would not agree to continue cooperating with him even if it meant offending him. Because he did not know who Shapotian was, how could he dare to continue cooperating with someone who he did not even know? Longao, have you heard of the Wan Shou sect? Wan Shou sect. Shaking his head, Longao indeed did not know what kind of existence the Wan Shou sect was, but he was sure that it was not a small sect. Just by looking at Shapotian, he already knew the strength of the Wan Shou sect. I can only tell you that I am from the Wan Shou sect, as for other things, I cannot tell you. Without waiting for Longao to speak, Shapotian continued, Longao, when you break through to the Great Emperor realm, I will come to find you again. As for me, do not tell anyone, especially the Long family, otherwise you will be killed. Take care of yourself. Looking at Shapotian, who had already turned around and left, Longao became even more dignified. Wan Shou sect. Who was Shapotian? Why did he choose him? Longao did not know why, but he felt that something was wrong. As for what was wrong, he could not figure it out. This time, Shapotian had acted in time and killed the Howling Moon Demon Wolf, but Longao had heard the Howling Moon Demon Wolf shout the Wan Shou sect's command before it died. What kind of existence was the Wan Shou sect's command? Longao was not stupid, of course, he could see some clues from the Howling Moon Demon Wolf's frightened face. If he was not mistaken, the Wan Shou sect and Shapotian were not simple, they were not simple. It seemed like his first task was to quickly find out what kind of existence the Wan Shou sect was. After being chased by the Howling Moon Demon Wolf for 5 to 6 days, Longao was completely exhausted. Following the Cloud City, he arrived at the Yun sect in a short time. The Yun sect had become a branch of the Dragon sect, in other words, the Dragon sect was now the overlord of the Cloud City, it was also his home. Master, are you all right? The Snake Emperor was very worried because he knew that there was a saint beast in the Yun sect that had been chasing after the Master. Now that the Master had returned safely, the Snake Emperor heaved a sigh of relief. Shaking his head, Longao said, I am fine, Elder Snake, I want to ask you something. Do you know about the Wan Shou sect? Hearing the 3 words Wan Shou sect, the Snake Emperor's expression changed, he nodded and said, I know, I don't know why Master suddenly asked about the Wan Shou sect. Chapter 474. Hearing the Snake Emperor's words, Longao was overjoyed. Elder Snake, tell me about the Wan Shou sect. The Snake Emperor nodded curiously, he didn't know why the Master suddenly mentioned the Wan Shou sect. Master, rumor has it that the Wan Shou sect is the most mysterious sect in the world. They are extremely powerful and can even compete with the Long family and the Long family. Moreover, the Wan Shou sect and the Long family are sworn enemies. Longao cursed in his heart because he didn't expect the Wan Shou sect to be so powerful that they could even compete with the Long family. No one knows where the headquarters of the Wan Shou sect is, nor do they know anything about the Wan Shou sect. The only thing they know is that the Wan Shou sect can control any spirit beast in the world. They can be said to be the masters of all spirit beasts. Regarding this point, Longao had already seen it with his own eyes. Rumor has it that the Wan Shou sect wanted to control the Dragon clan, but the Long family resisted. Over time, the Wan Shou sect and the Long family became sworn enemies. Longao finally understood why Shapotian wanted to enter the Dragon Valley. Longao was now sure that Shapotian had a very high status in the Wan Shou sect. His eyes became deep and serene. Although Longao didn't have a good impression of the Long family, Longao didn't want the Dragon Valley to be controlled by the Wan Shou sect. Shapotian, Wan Shou sect. Longao did not continue to ask because he knew very well in his heart that with his current strength, talking about this was all nonsense. It was still the same sentence, if he wanted to have the right to speak, he had to first harden his fist. Elder Snake, what's the situation now? Master, the Yun sect is very powerful, but with the help of the Corpse Slave Army, we managed to take down the Yun sect in just 1 day. Corpse Slave Army, The Snake Emperor felt his scalp go numb when he thought about the corpse slave army's immortal body. He could imagine that with the corpse slave army in the Yun sect, who could resist the Yun sect unless it was one of the four great factions? He was extremely satisfied. Longao knew clearly in his heart that the Cloud sect had now become one of the branches of the sect. This also meant that the Cloud sect was now completely stable. Kill the chicken to warn the monkey. With the destruction of the Cloud sect, he believed that the other forces in the Cloud region would not dare to resist. This trip to the Cloud sect was not in vain. Elder Snake, from now on, you should quickly stabilize your position as the overlord of the 9 regions. It would be best if you could settle this matter within a year. As for the matter of the Cloud sect, you can just leave it to others. The Snake Emperor nodded. Of course, he knew that his master trusted him a lot. He said, "Master, I will go and take care of this matter later. However, the Cloud sect has just been destroyed. There are still many things that have yet to be done." All right. After that, Longao got up and immediately went to look for Aoshue. Inside the restaurant, Aoshue did not leave. She waited quietly by herself. Seeing that Longao had returned smoothly, her heart was filled with joy. She asked, "Are you all right?" Shaking his head, Longao did not tell her what had happened earlier. Instead, he smiled and said, "I'm fine. I believe you should already know the general situation. The Cloud sect no longer exists. It's just one of the branches of the Dragon sect." Aoshue did not ask much. She knew that if Longao wanted to tell her, he would tell her even if she did not ask. Since that was the case, why should she ask? "Then, what should we do now?" "I'll send you back first. Next, I have to prepare for my breakthrough." Longao and Aoshue nodded. Just like that, Longao and Aoshue left Cloud City and returned to the Dragon sect. The news of the Cloud sect's destruction had already spread throughout the 9 states. It was also at this moment that everyone realized that the Dragon sect was about to make a move. Everyone had a new understanding of the Dragon sect's strength. They believed that only the 4 major forces could destroy the Cloud sect in a single day. Now, there was the Dragon sect. Longao returned to the Dragon sect and immediately entered into cultivation. Because he was completely relaxed this time, his state of mind had changed. It was a very strange change. Inside the Dragon Seal space. "Longfu, why are you looking for me in such a hurry?" "Master, I have lied to you about something. I hope you can forgive me." "About the primordial divine dragon? How did you know?" Longfu was surprised to be seen through by his master. He never thought that his master would be able to guess what he was about to say. Smiling, Longao did not mind at all. He said, "This matter is very clear. Back then, when I dreamt of Long Tien and the primordial divine dragon fighting the heavenly Tao, I had already guessed that the Dragon Seal's master was either Long Tien or the primordial divine dragon. However, Long Fu, since I am your new master, I hope you will not lie to me about anything in the future." "There is no need." Before Long Fu could say anything, Longao continued, "If you are unwilling to follow me, you can leave. I will not say anything. However, if you choose me, you must be loyal." Longao's meaning was very clear. Although he did not care much about this matter, Longao still felt a little uncomfortable. After all, the current master of the Dragon Seal was him and not Long Tien or the primordial divine dragon. Long Fu nodded and said, "Master, in my heart, my previous master has already disappeared. Only you and the primordial divine dragon are my true masters. However, the primordial divine dragon will not be able to hold on for long. Therefore, from now on, I only have one master, and that is you." Longao nodded and did not care much. After all, the primordial divine dragon and Long Tien had already disappeared. There was no meaning in fighting with the dead. "Long Fu, why did you come to find me this time? I don't like to beat around the bush." Longao had already guessed that Long Fu must have something to do with the primordial divine dragon. As for what it was, he did not know. "Master, my old master wants to talk to you personally." "Old master? Primordial divine dragon?" Hearing Long Fu's words, Longao was startled. Of course, he knew what Long Fu meant. Before Longao could react, a dragon's roar came from the blood pool and resounded throughout the dragon seal space. Immediately after, 100 feet long black dragon shadow suddenly appeared in the blood pool. An ancient aura spread out and shrouded the entire space. Longao shuddered. He clearly knew that the 100 feet long dragon shadow in front of him was the legendary ancestor of the dragon clan, the primordial divine dragon. Longao swallowed his saliva. He had always thought that the primordial divine dragon had fallen, but now, the primordial divine dragon had appeared in front of him. Could this be an illusion? "You're Longao?" Longao swallowed his saliva again and nodded. He was more or less afraid as he said, "Yes, I am. May I know why Senior Primordial Divine Dragon is looking for me? If there's anything, feel free to say it." Chapter 475. Longao, I believe you know who I am. Your ancestor, Long Tien, has been destroyed in body and soul. He can't be reborn. As expected. Although Longao had guessed that the dragon in front of him was the legendary primordial divine dragon, he still couldn't help but be shocked. If he hadn't seen it with his own eyes, he wouldn't have believed that the legendary primordial divine dragon was still alive. As if he could guess what Longao was thinking, the ancient voice of the primordial divine dragon rang out. "Longao, my soul can't hold on for much longer. This is why I'm looking for you. Senior Divine Dragon, may I know why you're looking for me? Could it be that he wanted revenge?" It couldn't be. Longao naturally knew who the enemy of the primordial divine dragon and Long Tien was. It was the supreme existence of the Tianwu continent, Tian Dao. Although he didn't know who Tian Dao was, Longao knew that a person who could kill the primordial divine dragon and Long Tien was an existence that Tian Dao could be. It's simple. Help me and Long Tien take revenge and kill Tian Dao. F***ck Longao cursed in his heart. It was true that what he was afraid of came true. Longao did not immediately agree because he knew his own strength. Not to mention killing Tian Dao, even if it was a great emperor martial artist, he was not his opponent. "Senior Divine Dragon, I believe you know my strength best. I can't promise you, please forgive me." Nodding, the primordial divine dragon wasn't angry at all. "Longao, I know your concerns. You're now the owner of the dragon seal. With your desolate physique and the little guy's desolate physique, I believe you'll be able to reach the same level as me and Long Tien in less than 100 years. At that time, you'll be able to inherit our strength and fight against Tian Dao. As for the outcome, it'll depend on you. The inheritance of the primordial divine dragon and Long Tien's strength. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't tempted by such a temptation." However, Longao didn't agree immediately. After all, this wasn't a small matter. If he made the slightest mistake, he would die without a burial place. "Longao, you have already obtained the dragon seal, and you belong to a Long family. This is your duty, you cannot refuse." "Can't refuse." Longao wanted to laugh and cry. Before Longao could say anything, the primordial divine dragon said, "Your strength is still very weak now. So when your cultivation breaks through to the divine Dao realm, I will come to find you again. This time, I am just informing you." With that, the dragon shadow disappeared from the blood pool. Silence. The entire dragon seal space was silent. Longao stood there in a daze, looking at the blood pool in front of him. At this moment, he finally knew why the blood pool was so awesome. The primordial divine dragon was in the blood pool. Longao sighed deeply. He knew very well that the primordial divine dragon had not come looking for him to discuss, but to inform him directly. In the end, the primordial divine dragon did not take him seriously. If he was a supreme Dao warrior, would the primordial divine dragon still dare to act like this? Strength, it was all about strength. Without strength, everything was nonsense. Longao did not reveal the unhappiness in his heart. In his opinion, the primordial divine dragon did indeed have the qualifications to ignore him, but to seek revenge from the heavenly Dao was a little bit suicidal. But things had already come to this point. Did he have a choice? Longao really did not understand. Did the primordial divine dragon have water in his brain? Even the primordial divine dragon and Long Tien could not defeat the heavenly Tao, let alone him. But there was really no other way. Who asked his strength to be inferior to the primordial divine dragon? If the primordial divine dragon were to fight force with force, how could he resist? Helplessly waving his hand, Long Fu said, "Master, don't worry. I will do my best to help you improve your strength. When the time comes to integrate with the old master's strength, killing the heavenly Tao will not be difficult." It was easy to say, but Longao would not easily believe Long Fu's nonsense. What kind of joke was this? Killing the heavenly Tao was not difficult. If it was really so simple, why did the primordial divine dragon and Long Tien not succeed in killing the heavenly Tao? But they were killed by the heavenly Tao. Long Fu, I am about to break through to the illusionary divine stage, but I still feel that I am lacking something. Can you help me analyze what I am lacking? Originally, Longao thought that he would be able to break through to the illusionary divine stage. However, what made him extremely depressed was that no matter how hard he tried, he was still unable to break through to the illusionary divine stage. He felt that he could break through to the illusionary divine stage at any time. He was just one step away, but he could not take this step. Master, you are now at the critical point of the illusionary divine stage. You can break through to the illusionary divine stage at any time. Just relying on your strength is no longer enough. Unless you are in a state of enlightenment, you will not be able to break through to the illusionary divine stage. Long Fu didn't continue speaking, but the meaning in his words was already very clear. Hearing this, Longao was also very depressed. It was easy to say, but it was easier said than done to gain enlightenment. Longao did not continue asking. He did not want to stay any longer. He had offended the primordial divine dragon for no reason, and now he had another powerful enemy. Who did he offend? At this moment, Longao could be considered depressed to the extreme. Primordial divine dragon, Long Tien, the heavenly Tao. Everything felt like a dream. Longao realized that the environment that he was in now was only the tip of the iceberg of the Sky Martial continent. Not to mention the primordial divine dragon, the heavenly Tao and Long Tien, just the WN Shou sect, the Long family and the Heaven and Earth sect were all powerful existences that he could not touch. Longao believed that once the Long family, the WN Shou sect and the Heaven and Earth sect appeared, it would be a piece of cake for them to destroy the Dragon sect and his family. It was also because of this that Longao decided to speed up the development of the Dragon sect to deal with all the troubles. Longao handed the matter of the expansion to the Snake Emperor, while the internal affairs of the Dragon sect were handed over to Dugu Bai, Long Potian and the rest. As for Longao, he was trying his best to break through to the illusionary divine stage. During the battle with the Howling Moon Demon Wolf, Longao experienced the difference between himself and a half-sage martial artist. Unless he was lucky or his opponent was careless, he would not be a match for an illusionary divine stage martial artist. Illusionary divine stage. Longao could not wait to break through to the illusionary divine stage. He was confident that once he broke through to the illusionary divine stage, he would be able to kill any illusionary divine stage martial artist. The last step. He was only one step away. Sitting quietly at the peak of the mountain, Longao suddenly thought of something that Long Fu had said previously. The 9 revolving reincarnation technique was extremely powerful. The 9 revolving reincarnation technique was able to defy the heavens and earth. When Master completed the 9 revolving reincarnation technique, he would be able to step onto the peak of martial arts. Long Fu was looking forward to seeing Master take that step. The 9 revolving reincarnation technique? Longao did not hesitate and started to comprehend the 9 revolving reincarnation technique. He knew that if he wanted to break through to the illusionary divine stage, he had to start from the 9 revolving reincarnation technique. Chapter 476. Longao had already broken through the first transformation of the 9 revolving reincarnation technique. The first transformation of the 9 revolving reincarnation technique was the mysterious 9 heavenly transformations. Longao had also reached the peak of the mysterious 9 heavenly transformations. Similarly, the 9 revolving reincarnation technique was only one step away from the second transformation. After comprehending for 3 days, Longao finally understood why he was still unable to break through to the illusionary divine stage. The reason was simple. The root of the problem was the 9 revolving reincarnation technique. Longao had successfully comprehended that if he wanted to break through to the illusionary divine stage, he would have to break through to the second transformation of the 9 revolving reincarnation technique. Although it seemed simple, it was actually extremely difficult. Longao stood up and stretched his back. He did not waste any more time. Who knew when he would be able to break through to the 9 revolving reincarnation technique? Instead of wasting time, he might as well do something serious. At this point in time, the Imperial City suddenly sent an invitation to Longao to the Imperial City alone. When everyone knew about this, they all thought that the Imperial City was crazy. No one would go to the Imperial City alone unless they were courting death. Everyone knew that Longao had killed the son of the Imperial City mayor. He and Longao were in a situation where either one of them would die. The Imperial City must have bad intentions for inviting Longao to go alone. Dragon Sect, Main Hall. Master, the Imperial City must have bad intentions for inviting you to the Imperial City. You don't have to worry about them. Longao had dealt heavy blows to the Imperial City. This had boosted everyone's confidence and made them feel that the Dragon Sect and the Imperial City were on the same level. This situation was both good and bad. Longao knew that he could not stop this from happening. He could only take one step at a time. As for the invitation from the Imperial City, Longao thought for a while and suddenly said, "The Imperial City has made it clear that they will announce to the world that they will not do anything to me if I go to the Imperial City this time." Hearing Longao's words, everyone was taken aback. None of them were fools. Of course, they knew that the master had already made his stance clear. He wanted to go to the Imperial City alone. Once the Imperial City made any moves, how would the master deal with it? Thinking of this, everyone began to persuade the master to give up on going to the Imperial City. He waved his hand. Everyone saw that the master's expression was not good, and immediately became quiet. No one dared to say anything. However, everyone's faces were still filled with worry. Since the Imperial City has already announced this to the world, I believe that the Imperial City will not do anything to me. As the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. I also want to see why the Imperial City invited me this time. Everyone was well aware of the master's personality. Since the master had already made his decision, who could stop him? Because of this, no matter how worried and unwilling everyone was, there was nothing they could do. They could only pray that the Imperial City was a true gentleman and would not go against the master. The news that the Imperial City had invited Longao to the Imperial City and that Longao had agreed at the same time spread throughout the 9 states, including the 3 major forces. Everyone was guessing what the Imperial City meant. After all, everyone knew about the grudge between Longao and the Imperial City. But now, the Imperial City was inviting Longao to the Imperial City as a guest as if they were friends. Everyone knew Sima Zhao's intentions. Everyone was sure that Longao would definitely be attacked by the Imperial City this time. They thought that Longao would not go, but in the end, Longao agreed without any hesitation. Just this courage alone was unparalleled. It was precisely because of this that everyone was even more aware of one truth. That was, Longao's success was not accidental, but inevitable. Not to mention Longao's talent and strength, just this courage alone had completely surpassed many people. 9 States Spirit Region. 3rd Grade Long Family's Main Hall. Master, why did the Imperial City invite Longao this time? Long Yang was very curious because the 4 major forces had met to discuss how to deal with Longao. In the end, they parted on bad terms. Because the 4 major forces had suffered heavy losses time and time again, each of them had their own ulterior motives. No one was willing to be the first to act. Because of this, the 4 major forces kept each other in check and did not immediately attack the Dragon Sect. Because of this, The Imperial City's sudden invitation to Longao made everyone confused. They did not know what the Imperial City meant. Duan Tianfeng was killed, and Duan he was devastated. He wanted nothing more than to kill Longao. So, I can be sure that the grudge between the Imperial City and Longao will not end here. After thinking for a while, Long Maoan continued, I don't know why the Imperial City invited Longao this time, but for some reason, I have a feeling that the Imperial City did not invite Longao to deal with Longao. They have other motives. Master, I have the same feeling. What should we do now? 9-state spirit region, 4 major forces. The Eastern Imperial City, the Western Third Grade Long family, the Southern Nether Mansion, and the Northern Ethereal Palace had always been fighting openly and secretly. Everyone wanted to destroy the other 3 forces and dominate the 9-state spirit region. But for so many years, the 4 major forces could not do anything to each other. As time passed, the 9-state spirit region became a scene of 4 major forces fighting for supremacy. But this did not mean that the 4 major forces were willing to live in peace. As long as there was a chance, the 4 major forces would not show mercy. I want to see what the Imperial City means by inviting Longao this time. If the Imperial City dares to play any tricks, I will definitely make the Imperial City unable to bear the consequences. After calming down a little, Long Maoan suddenly asked, Is there any news from the Long family? Long Yang said helplessly, No, but Master, I have received news that the Long family already knows everything about Longao. Now, the Long family has 2 opinions. What are the 2 opinions? The first is that many people in the Long family want to capture Longao immediately and ask him about the situation. If something is wrong, we should kill him immediately. The second is that we should observe the development of Longao first. If he grows well, the Long family will not continue to punish Longao. In the end, they will focus on cultivating Longao. Just as expected. Long Maoan already knew about this, but he still found it hard to believe. Because he knew very well that the reason why the Long family did not act against Longao was very simple. Longao's talent and growth had moved many people in the Long family. This time, they were in big trouble. Master, once the Long family thinks highly of Longao, it will be very difficult for us to continue to deal with him. Nodding, Long Maoan said, This child cannot be left alive. Whether the Long family thinks highly of him or if he grows up in the future, he will become a big threat to the Long family. We must eliminate him. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,